fight because I want to win. I am the most fabulous whiner.
And then he apologized like a little baby, like a disgusting little weak, pathetic baby.
That's how we go. That's how we roll.
I just can't.
Fuck the EU. Fuck the EU.
I'm not going to dignify that with an answer.
Fuck the EU.
I just can't.
Hello, chat room. So it's time to start the overtime. Mr. Chase is en route. Clips are loaded. We got some loaded clips, guys. Yeah! Get it? What? No? Oh. All right. Ah, woo!
Business? Just stroke it a little bit.
I say Boulder Dash.
I just can't.
And the value of this is negative.
Zombies don't run Linux.
It's for people who like to mess with computers.
No. Hey.
OMG.
Okay. It's time to get started. Quit screwing around, chat room. Holy smokes, takes you guys forever to get going. Unbelievable. What? All right. Everybody bang suggests the YouTube streams are up, so help those that are having problems with that. And don't forget, we also got JB.FM. And here we go. Yeah, this is Chris. Yeah. I gotta say, yeah, quit fucking around. Yeah. My microphone's not muted. What? They can hear everything I'm saying on the live stream? I'm embarrassing myself really bad right now. Okay, I gotta go. Okay, let's start the overtime now. Aha! Don't believe all of the fake news. The show's not over yet. It might have sounded like we're done, but between you and me, it's just getting started. It's the Unfilter Overtime! Special thank you this week to Sean Z. Dark, Phil, Andrew G., Justine, Chris H., Michael B., Claren, and Zan. You know, it's just not as good without music, is it? Try it without music this week. What do you guys think? I'm going to do it over. It needs music. Sorry, Rika, you're going to have an extra file. Because I didn't, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do it, Rika. But it just needs music. So let's go with something like that, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. Yeah, we should go something like that. Go something like that. Okay, Charum, let's do it one more time with passion this time. Don't forget to bang suggest. Here we go.
That's how we go. That's how we
And
roll.
it how. Don't believe it just because those guys claim the show's over. We're not done yet. That's fake news. It's time for the Unfilter Overtime. Brought to you by patreon.com/unfilter. Oh, it's good to be with you. Let's be honest, the show's really just starting now. That was warm-up. That was pre-show. Let's start off by thanking the patrons that made this segment possible this week. A big thank you to Sean Z. Dark, Phil, Andrew G., Justine, Chris H., Michael B., Karen, and Zan? Or maybe it's Jan. Starts with an X. Your guess is as good as mine. Thank you for supporting us at patreon.com/unfilter. This show is a ton of work. I cannot express how much work it is and how much I appreciate your recognition of that hard work by supporting us at our Patreon page. Adam Curry coined the term, and it couldn't be better suited. Value for value. The man is a genius. It really is a lot of hard work. But when I read that list and I see new names on there, every single time I feel the appreciation. So thank you guys for keeping the show on the air. This segment's dedicated to you and all of our supporters at patreon.com/unfilter. Now, what do you say we start with Nancy? What?
No. Hey,
who let that guy back in here? Get him out of here. He doesn't have a say anymore on what we cover. So this is my new favorite segment in the overtime. Oh, Nancy. And it wanders a bit from time to time, but it it makes me smile this week. We start with good old Maxine Waters, who is a close friend of Nancy, part of that same wing of the Democratic Party.
Donald Trump right there signing an executive order on historical black colleges and universities, saying that they will now be a priority. Joining me now to talk about this is Congressman Elliot Engel, Democrat of New York, and Congresswoman Maxine Waters, a Democrat of California. So, Congresswoman...
Oh, shit! What is she gonna do? Oh, man, an executive order specifically designed to take the administration from the bureaucracy of the U.S. government, this bureaucracy, and move it to the White House, where the White House can directly oversee proper funding for primarily black colleges. This is an executive order targeted directly to benefit the black community. Almost guaranteed to raise funds more, make it easier to get credit, and all those kinds of wonderful things for higher education. Isn't this just great? But old Maxine Waters here, she can't be pro-Trump. She can't say she's the impeach now gal.
Let me start with you. President Trump just signed that executive order, and now leaders of those schools that you saw in that image are going to be meeting with the vice president. They're going to be meeting with Republicans on Capitol Hill.
Where's my camera? You see, she's looking around. She's searching the entire time that woman's talking. She's not listening. She's not listening at all. She was looking for her camera the entire time. Meanwhile, the guy standing next to her has been looking dead on the camera awkwardly the entire time.
This doesn't seem like it should be a partisan executive order. Why are they only meeting with Republicans and not Democrats?
Oh, there we go. Well, MSNBC finds the partisan thing. It is the negative spin on what is otherwise an absolutely positive story.
Well, I don't know what the executive order means. I just heard about it for the first time. I didn't hear about any money, any new resources, and so the devil is in the details. And of course, whenever you're talking about increasing the budget, the Republicans are very selective. They increase it for what they want, but oftentimes they will not support increases for, black efforts, for poor efforts, etc.
Which is specifically what they're doing right now.
As a matter of fact, I'm so worried that the president is proposing a $54 billion budget for the Defense Department, and he's talking about taking it out of the hides of all of these other programs that need money so desperately. So I don't know what this executive order is. I certainly will be trying to dissect it.
Yeah, sure you will.
And see what it really means.
So far, what we do know about it is that it's going to move an initiative to assist HBCUs from the Education Department into the White House, basically giving the White House more oversight into that. Also,
this background audio is so bad. It's so bad. Now watch Nancy Waters. I think this is my new favorite name for her.
Needs to move it.
She gets there. So this guy hasn't talked yet. The guy standing next to her. So she goes to ask a question to him, and Maxine takes over.
Disrespect.
Well, no, it is not.
He still tries to answer.
You not showing up to.
Oh yeah, but there. By the way, the question is, hey Maxine, why aren't you going to go to the congressional address tonight? Why aren't you going to that congressional address?
Say that you not showing up to this joint address, which is about the country more so than it's about the president, is the same sort of disrespect.
Oh man.
Well, no, it is not. It is absolutely not.
Watch his face.
And you cannot compare the two. This is ceremonial, and in this ceremony, people lie.
She's been saying this over and over again on different networks. She's got a whole line ready to go. And look at the guy next to him. This old bat just keeps running her mouth.
They smile, they shake hands, they hug each other, they honor the president. I'm not about any of that. I'm prepared to interact with the president only when he puts up his budget and his agenda that I'm going to have to fight.
So she's only prepared to talk to Trump. What did she just say?
When he puts up his budget and his agenda that I'm going to have to fight.
So you're already preemptively planning to fight him, and the only time you're going to deal with him is when you fight him.
So let's not talk about this ceremony.
How are you ever going to not fight?
In relationship to, public policy, real public policy. I don't choose to go. I don't choose to go. I don't choose to honor him. I've said that.
Again, the question was not directed to her.
And I won't be a part of the ceremony, and that's that.
Speaking of shaking...
Wait, I need my chance to talk. Let me talk.
Let me say that.
Come on now. Hold on. I haven't got a chance to talk. She ran her mouth.
Speaking of shaking...
Let me say that I will go. I will be there. I just will not be standing on the aisle.
It goes on. It goes on for another 3 minutes, but she just... the audio is so bad that I'll leave it in the supporter sync if you want to watch the rest. Here's Nancy talking about President Trump's speech.
All right.
Yeah, what was that? Did you hear that? Did you catch that? Yeah, that's Nancy Pelosi.
All right, joining us now is fixing Nancy Pelosi's microphone. House Minority Leader, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi of California. And in just a moment, we're going to bring in former Kentucky Governor Steve Beshear, who delivered the Democrats' response to President Trump's address. But Leader Pelosi, we'll start with you. Your reaction last night, I saw you a couple of times shaking your head, quiet, resolute, taking it in.
Well, I was very proud of the dignity with which our members listened to a speech, which was clearly a bait-and-switch speech. And the president...
They did such a good job listening, guys.
Talk's a good talk, but the fact is that show us, it's 3 months, almost 3 months since he's been elected.
Wait a minute, almost 3 months. We've been calling it the first 30 days. What happened to the first 30 days?
41 days since he has been president.
So it's been 41 days. Okay.
And we still haven't seen what we're legislators. So if you want to talk, show us your proposal, and we go from there. He hasn't had a proposal on jobs, on infrastructure, not even renegotiating NAFTA, which he promised. So there are many representations made, but not too much.
Is there anything hopeful?
So I thought I would just go to compare and contrast. I went and looked up President Obama's first actual signed legislation in the first 30 days. Now, there was two things he signed. One seems fairly positive. The other was to increase troop deployments by 17,000 in Afghanistan. Okay. So that's what Obama got done legislation-wise. Now, we're not talking executive orders, because obviously she's not talking executive orders. So if you want to use that measuring stick, I'm not sure that's a great comparison.
Speech for you. Any openings did you see there?
Well, it depends on what he's going to say, for example, about infrastructure. As you know, Joe, that has really never been a partisan issue. We've always
It's weird that she goes to Joe there.
come together on that, except when President Obama proposed it. Of course, the Republicans rejected it. But nonetheless, if he has an infrastructure plan that really is a good plan, or that we can work together on, but if it's a tax bill disguised as infrastructure, that's not a place.
So let's do some inside baseball here.
Yeah,
I was commenting on the speech. What was striking, sitting for the first time on the Democratic side, Elijah Cummings invited me, was, again, you talked about the dignity that the Democrats showed. It's been a really tumultuous, divided year and a half, and yet I think the minority party, which Republicans shouted out, "You lie." I've heard Democrats hiss Republican presidents in the past, but last night, quiet, dignified. Was there a conversation about that before you all went onto the floor?
What a stupid ass question. No, all of the women randomly by chance, not all, but most of the women randomly by chance in the Democratic Party side showed up in white outfits. Just total accident, total chance.
As far as how the caucus was going to be more respectful?
What happens in the caucus stays. We have the law.
He knows that.
But you know what I'm saying, though? I mean, even in the best of times.
So there's let's move on, because the interview goes on and on. Lots of time for Nancy on the air. But I thought this one was kind of an interesting interview.
I've been watching Nancy's statements, and I think she's incompetent. Actually, if you look at what's going on with the Democrats and the party, it's getting smaller and smaller. In a certain way, I hate to see it, because I like a two-party system, and we're soon going to have a one-party system. I actually think a two-party system is healthy and good, but she's done a terrible job.
So she's wrong.
Well, I don't think she's a good spokesman. She's certainly wrong. There are those that say I've done more than anybody in 100 days. Hey, look, just at the money I've saved.
President Trump slamming Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi joins me now. Madam Leader, welcome. I see you're wearing your suffragette white.
I am, and my suffragette purple.
And your suffragette purple, dressed for tonight. Your response to the president?
Well, he's commenting on my statement that he made that nobody knew. Nobody knew.
This already sounds like high school. Well, he got upset because I said to Nancy, and then Nancy told Andrea, and Andrea told everybody on the TV that Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing.
How complicated health care legislation is. And what I said was, it reminded me of a Yogi Berra joke where Yogi Berra brings home a report card and his father has to sign it. And his father says, "Yogi, don't you know anything?" And he says, "No, I don't even suspect anything." That reminds me of President Trump.
Yeah, I wonder why that would upset him. That's good, though. Then you got the new guy running the DNC.
You're now seeing Republicans call for a special investigation of what happened in the run-up to the election.
Goddamn McCain. Jeez.
And I think there has to be an independent investigation.
This here is Tom Perez, the new DNC chairman, the guy that's locking in the DNC establishment. I'm sure there's going to be lots of reform and improvements for the Democratic Party. Going to win a lot of elections with this guy.
You can't have the Attorney General, who was out on the stump for the president, doing that investigation. That's disrespectful to all Foxes.
He's out on the stump, huh? I mean, I'm not a Sessions fan, but out on the stump because he endorsed Trump early. That means he was out on the stump.
To call it the fox guarding the hen house.
Oh, good, getting the fox guarding the hen house meme in there.
And we have to make sure that it is fair and independent. If the tables had been turned and Hillary Clinton had won the presidency with the help of Donald Trump, or with the help of Putin, I confuse Putin and Trump because they're so similar, and the help of all this hacking, the Republicans, how many Benghazi hearings did they have? 15? I mean, there would have been articles of impeachment filed already.
Yeah, but what happened in Benghazi is actually a scandal. A leader of a sovereign country was murdered. We lost an ambassador. An ambassador died, okay? That's not something. When's the last time you heard about an ambassador dying?
And so I hope that this independent investigation is done. And I'm glad finally to see some Republicans calling for it as well.
Man, it just really sucks because you'd love to see the new DNC leadership kind of step up and try to put all of this stupid Russia bullshit behind them. Nancy Pelosi sort of had a Jeb Bush moment. She kind of, it wasn't full on Jeb, but she definitely had a Jeb moment. You know what I'm talking about, right? You remember, right?
So here's my pledge to you. I will be a commander-in-chief that will have the back of the military. I won't trash talk. I won't be a divider-in-chief or an agitator-in-chief. I won't be out there blowharding, talking a big game without backing it up. I think the next president needs to be a lot quieter, but send a signal that we're prepared to act in the national security interests of this country, to get back in the business of creating a more peaceful world. Please clap.
And that's the moment his campaign died. It's interesting. You can hear in that 20 seconds up to that moment why he didn't get any traction. The next president needs to be more quiet. I don't think that's what the electoral wanted. So let's go back to Nancy, because this is her semi-Jeb moment. Although this is worse in some sense because she just sort of rambles and repeats the same words and then starts prompting the audience for applause.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
For your very, very generous recanting of what happened at the time.
What?
This is a historic opportunity for us, an opportunity of a generation, and we are not going to let it pass. Affordable Care Act will stand there with Social Security, with Medicare and Medicare. You take satisfaction in the role that Families USA played in all of this. We simply could not have done it without you. And we could not have done it without Barack Obama. When I called him that night to... And by the way, when I said we could not have done it without Families USA and without you, that is an applause line. For you. Frederick understood that. So Frederick, good luck to you and congratulations to you. I look forward to continuing work with Families USA under your leadership. Thank you and congratulate. Applause line. Medicaid is there for many poor children.
Oh, the children.
Many poor children. And by the way, do you know who the poorest people in America are?
Don't say children.
Infants and children.
Oh, damn it.
Infants and children.
Oh, she did it again.
The opioid epidemic and addiction and the rest.
Yeah.
Medicaid is there. In fact, don't take it from me.
Oh, that's
John
Medicaid.
Kasich, the governor of Illinois, said,
Ohio.
Thank God for Medicaid.
So earlier she says Medicare, now she's gone to Medicaid. She said Kasich was from where did she say Kasich was from?
The opioid epidemic and addiction and the rest. Medicaid is there. In fact, don't take it from me. John Kasich, the governor of Illinois.
Yeah, that's Ohio, by the way.
Said, thank God for Medicaid.
That seems like a detail that she might know.
As Martin Luther King said, of all the...
Martin Luther what? As Martin Luther what said?
As Martin Luther King said, of all...
Saint? What'd she just say?
As Martin Luther King said, of all the inequality of seen, the most damaging, and he used a different word, is the inequality of access to health care.
Wow. That is... She's got to go. She's got to go. I mean, I don't know what kind of condition she has, but she's not looking good for the DNC leadership. This is kind of a fun one, too. Why don't we wrap it up with a little Maxine Waters supercut?
And so, no, I have no intention of pretending everything's all right. And my greatest desire is to lead him right into impeachment. I have not called for the impeachment yet. She was not ready yet to talk about impeachment. I'm ready to talk about it. We cannot continue to have a president who's acting in this manner. Well, I hope he's not there for 4 years. This is the most outrageous and ridiculous president that this country has ever had. He's done everything to show that he really doesn't have good values. I don't honor him, I don't respect him, and I don't want to be involved with him. No, I don't trust him. I don't believe him. I have no intentions of sitting down with him. There's nothing about him that I would want to be involved with. I'm not welcoming him. I won't rejoice in him being the president. I was never going to go to the inauguration. Oh, no, I won't go.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to sit down with him. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to pretend. Wrapping his arms around Putin.
That's right.
While Putin is continuing to advance into
Korea.
Korea?
Yeah.
Entangled with this Kremlin clan of his. I'm wondering, was there any collusion between him and Putin and
between
the
you and
Kremlin?
Hillary?
This clan, this Kremlin clan, but to take over, all of these Soviet countries and take this new president who thinks he's a dictator. Well, let me just say this. Mike Previs, your government tried to take away your constitutional rights. This is a bunch of scumbags. That's what they are.
Those are
we bend over backwards to work with people. These are a bunch of scumbags.
Secretary.
Us fighting the power?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Little montage of Maxine Waters. That's well done. That was a good one. Oh, geez. That concludes Oh Nancy. Now it could be Oh Nancy, Oh Maxine, and that new DNC guy. Perez. John McCain has some dirty secrets, and one of them is starting to get a little more attention, and people are poking around. He's trying to pull a Clinton Foundation. John McCain has launched, he's had it for I think a while, I'm not quite sure on the timing, the McCain Institute, which, yeah, you guessed it, basically a knockoff of the Clinton Foundation, and guess who's been possibly funding McCain via this nonprofit? Can you guess that one? If you guessed Saudis, you guessed right.
Senator John McCain getting testy today over questions about $1 million donation from the government of Saudi Arabia. The money going to a nonprofit that bears McCain's name. McCain said he has nothing to do with the nonprofit, but that's not what ethics experts say. Bram Resnick has the story.
Yeah, Mark, foreign governments like Saudi Arabia's aren't allowed to donate money to American politicians, so they often give to nonprofits linked to the politicians. Senator McCain claimed today there was no link, and after a few minutes, he cut off questions about the donation.
Senator John McCain is one of the Capitol's most important voices on matters of war and peace.
Thank God for the Saudis and Prince Bandar. We're starting to see a little bit of reversal there.
We're now learning the government of Saudi Arabia donated $1 million to the McCain Institute for International Leadership, a nonprofit that bears the senator's name.
Now, you remember last week we said that John McCain had accidentally solicited campaign financing during his presidential run from the Russian ambassador who died last week. And I had the documents linked in the show notes. And now we hear this.
I'm proud that the Institute is named after me, but I have nothing to do with it, and except that they use my name, which I am honored, just as the Goldwater Institute uses Goldwater's name.
Yeah, just like that. But not like the Clinton Foundation. Not like that.
Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's been pummeled over foreign contributions to the nonprofit Clinton Foundation.
Has she? I kind of feel like the whole Clinton Foundation shit didn't come up very much. I mean, yeah, Trump dropped the name from time to time, but did they really dig into the Clinton Foundation? I mean, just the Saudi connections alone should be pretty solid, or bills like big checks, big birthday present, cash donations, bill speaking engagements, or during the time uranium deposits were being negotiated. Big things like that could just use a little bit of more investigation. Did they they really? Did they really?
The Goldwater Institute uses Goldwater's name.
Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's been pummeled over foreign contributions to the nonprofit Clinton Foundation. McCain laughed off any comparison.
Look, my friend, look at what Clinton Institute has raised in the form of money. I mean, come on. There's no connection there.
No
But
connection.
Government ethics
No connection.
watchdogs say there's a reason the McCain Institute is getting Saudi money.
And anyone who's going to chip in $1 million or more to the McCain Institute is going to get John McCain's ear.
McCain's positions on the Middle East
course.
largely square with Saudi Arabia's.
This is in Saudi Arabia's interest to try to influence John McCain.
Very much. Anybody who's been watching this show, even for maybe a month, knows that. I mean, that's obvious.
McCain's Republican primary opponent, Kelly Ward, has questions about that influence.
And with all the turmoil in the Middle East, I don't want any touch of impropriety that could...
Oh, Kelly, you are so naive. You're the kind of person that ends up dead. I mean, I hate to say it, but these type of people, they're so naive that once you stop getting media attention in a few weeks, you just end up dead.
come along with that.
But McCain drew the line on questions about the Saudi donation.
One more question about the McCain Institute.
No!
They were kind of
I've answered all the questions. I have answered all the questions I'm going to answer on it.
McCain established the Institute 4 years ago at Arizona State University with an $8 million gift of cash left over from his 2008 presidential campaign. In the newsroom, Bram Resnick, 12 News.
That's what they do. That's what they do. If that is such a key piece of information. I'm going to play it again, even though I know you all caught it. I want to talk about it one more time with you because that's why it's worth running for president, even if you don't win. This is a really good point.
The Institute 4 years ago at Arizona State University with an $8 million gift of cash left over from his 2008 presidential campaign.
So then you can stay politically relevant. You run for president, you get a certain cachet added to your political brand, plus you roll the money you have left over if you run it right into an institute like this, which you can set up. And I don't have any connections to it. This is all pretty well outlined in books like Clinton Cash or the YouTube documentary that you could just go search. But there's other places that outline this too. You do this through a series of LLCs and shell companies. It's just as stupid and basic as you would conceptualize. These massive political influence scams are all set up around little itty-bitty shell corporations. And like in the case of the Clintons, the shell corporations are named like William Jefferson Accounting or something like that. Instead of Bill Clinton, William Jefferson, his middle name, Jefferson. William Jefferson Accounting, William Jefferson Exports. I don't remember the names, but that's how they set up these additional little companies, and then that's where money comes in and out of. Now, all of a sudden, that little company is doing business with the McCain Institute or with the Clinton Foundation, and this is where the money moves around. So yeah, they don't have any connection to the institute or the foundation, but they do happen to have a connection to the shell company. So technically, he can say, I don't have a direct connection, and he's from a tax standpoint and an accounting standpoint, he's not lying. So it's brilliant. Same with Bill Clinton. That's how Bill Clinton does it. It's great. Now, Chelsea doesn't have that benefit because she's directly employed. Let's move on to a news story that we're starting to track now. We've been following it offline. I want to start following it in the overtime so that way we can bump it up into the main show in a couple of weeks if hopefully we don't need to, but if we do have to, and you guys will have the context.
And now this Fox News alert several evacuations after threats to Jewish centers across the country, including a reported bomb scare at one Jewish community center in Wynwood, Pennsylvania. We're hearing reports of similar situations in Delaware, in New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, and Indiana. And just this weekend, dozens of headstones were desecrated at a Jewish cemetery in Philadelphia. These threats have been going on for weeks. We will bring you more on this developing story as we get it.
Veritunda links us a very interesting looking graphic in the chat room. Nice to see you, Mr. Tunda, and thank you for linking. I'll try to pull it up here for a second. Although I don't think it'll display very well on the stream. But it says the Clintons have raised $4 billion in support of their political and philanthropic, that's how you say that, efforts over 4 decades. Nearly all the funds went to support 6 federal campaigns and their family foundation. See the numbers, looks like they come from the John Munskins and Meta Gold and the Washington Post. Anyways, that's in the chat room. You could probably find that. Yeah. So this, and then one more on this story before we move on. This is the NBC report.
More anxiety-filled moments at America's Jewish community centers and day schools evacuating today.
It was scary for everybody. I'm not going to lie, it's a horrible situation what's going on these days.
Why would you lie? Why would you lie about that? Why do you need to make that disclaimer?
The latest wave of bomb threats targeted 21 places in the eastern half of the country, but they were just threats. In Philadelphia, this is why the FBI opened a hate crimes investigation. More than 100 headstones toppled at Mount Carmel Jewish Cemetery. Here, Mark Weissman, alone and with strangers, tried to summon superhuman strength to write the memorial of his grandparents, Arthur and Frida Stern.
It had to be hatred. Not specifically for them, but because of what religion they were.
Aaron Malin discovered the destruction yesterday.
I hope it doesn't have anything to do with the political environment in the country, but it's hard to say.
These stones. Rabbi Adam Zeff says
Was he asked about that? That sounds like he was asked about that. Listen to the way he's answering that.
Because of
it sounds like he's answering
what religion they were.
Aaron Malin discovered the destruction yesterday.
I hope it doesn't have anything to do with the political environment in the country.
So I don't really like it when the reporter goes in with a specific agenda. If you've ever been interviewed by even your local news, you know what I'm talking about, where they will prompt you with a series of questions that guide the interview in a direction that they want.
But it's hard to say.
These stones. Rabbi Adam Zeff says in the Jewish tradition, caring for the dead is the ultimate test of love and loyalty.
And hearing today about the bomb threat against the elementary school that my children went to, that context makes it extremely hard.
So NBC goes all in on the report. We'll keep following to see if this, and you saw and you heard Donald Trump mention it in his congressional address. Speaking of Donald Trump, let's do a little deep dive. I pushed off the Trump to give you guys a chance to rebuild your buffers for those of you who get triggered a little bit. And I understand, so I filled us out. I gave us a nice solid "Oh Nancy," right? Yeah. We talked about a lot of other things. So now we got to talk a little more Trump. Now, this is not exactly Trump related. This is Steve Bannon. We're going to start here. He made a quote-unquote rare, is the meme, appearance at CPAC. How can you say rare? It's rare in the sense that he hasn't done a lot yet, but it's only been 40 days. Maybe he'll do more. But anyways, so Steve Bannon, he's at CPAC. This is sort of a highlights reel. I'll just play a few minutes of it, of what he had to say at CPAC.
If you look at, the opposition party and how they portrayed the campaign, how they portrayed the transition, and now they're portraying.
I'm going to stop here, so I should probably. Opposition party is the media in his parlance. He's sitting next to Reince Priebus, where they're there having their bromance, trying to show the world that they get along. Steve Bannon is Donald Trump's chief strategist. He's the one that has all of the controversy. He's Cheney 2.0.
In the administration, it's
according to everybody. I'll back it up so you have that context. So there's Priebus, there's Reince right there, looking very much like a man named Reince. And then here goes Bannon. Now, one of the things that's interesting about Bannon is he's wearing two collared shirts plus an undershirt. He's wearing two button-up shirts with collars, an undershirt, and then a sports jacket.
If you look at, the opposition party and how they portrayed the campaign, how they portrayed the transition, and now they're portraying the administration, it's always wrong. I mean, on the very first day that Kellyanne and I started, we reached out to Reince, Sean Spicer, Katie. It's the same team that, every day was grinding away on the campaign, the same team that did the transition. And if you remember, the campaign was the most chaotic, by the media's description, most chaotic, most disorganized, most unprofessional, had no earthly idea what they were doing. And then you saw them all crying and weeping that night on the 8th and the reason it worked is President Trump. I mean, Trump had those ideas, had that energy, had that vision that could galvanize a team around him of disparate. Look, we're a coalition. A lot of people think, have strong beliefs about different things, but we understand that you can come together to win, and we understood that from August 15th, and we never had a doubt, and Donald Trump never had a doubt that he was going to win.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but he says several times in there, you can see he's a real Trump believer, that they have a team to grind out all of his promises. They're going to grind them out. All right. Very good, I suppose. This was a little telling. This is an interview with Trump's transportation
His first
secretary.
address to a joint session of Congress, President Trump talked about the need to fix America's crumbling infrastructure. Let's watch this.
To launch our national rebuilding.
I'm going to jump ahead a bit because we're good.
Elaine Chao, Madam Secretary, good to see you. Thanks for being
Yeah, okay, transportation secretary, sorry.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Can you explain the public-private capital and how that's going to work?
So Hannity's asking, how the hell are you going to fund $1 trillion infrastructure project? That's the question.
You know, the needs of our nation to improve our infrastructure is so great
Oh, God. It's already going off the rails.
that the federal government cannot assume the cost for all of it.
Okay, I think she's starting to get there.
So it behooves us as a nation to address the deteriorating infrastructure by thinking about new and innovative ways in which we can fund our infrastructure.
So I've heard infrastructure a few times.
And so President Trump has so many really exciting and novel ideas about how to finance our deteriorating infrastructure.
Is there some sort of rule when you're in Trump's administration that before you can actually talk about policy, you got to suck dick for 20 seconds? Why is she just talking about nothing and now she's just complimenting Trump for his innovative ideas?
So that once again, we will become more competitive in the worldwide environment.
What is
and
happening?
So that America can be great once again.
Sean, you got to bail her out, boy.
So public-private partnerships are a very important part of financing, of a new way of financing our roads and bridges that are in disrepair.
So she didn't explain anything, but she did say something about public-private financing.
And are very dangerous.
Can you explain that, he says?
Basically, yeah, I will.
Okay.
So basically, we allow different kinds of money, private sector money, to come into the United States. I'm not saying foreign.
Oh.
To come and
not Russian. Definitely not Russian. Definitely not Russian.
to come into the United States. I'm not saying foreign.
No.
To come and fund, let's say, a bridge or a road, or it can be any kind of infrastructure. By the way, I should also add that the
So not public roads?
President's initiative on infrastructure will include probably energy, water, broadband.
Sure.
So it's not just roads and bridges.
No,
but it's
privatize
to build
all
the
the
whole
things.
infrastructure that will make our country more competitive
great.
going forward.
So Sean, you gotta explain what's going on here.
So public-private
Come on, Sean.
partnership allows
Sean, cut her
private
off.
sector money to come into the economy.
She's almost a parody. She seems like a Saturday Night Live skit. She seems like a parody of what a politician would be like. Sean, you gotta step in.
And fund public works. So far, right now, there are so many impediments to allowing private sector monies to come in.
Sean!
And we
So,
should
Madam
do away
Secretary-
with all those impediments.
Sean,
Yes.
come on!
Well, so maybe, if I'm hearing you properly, maybe what you're saying is that, for example, if a company were to rebuild a road, they might get their investment back by, say, having a toll on that road, and this way the taxpayers don't pay a penny.
Lead the witness much there.
They make a profit. It's a win-win, something like that.
Yes, thank you for putting it that way.
No, she did not. Did that just happen?
Yes, thank you for putting it that way.
Oh, man, Trump. Who did you nominate? Who is this woman? What is going on? What is happening? I thought this was a fascinating piece on CNN. This is, they're having a problem because, you see, it seems like every time they try to fact check the president or say something's not true, it ends up just amplifying his message. And gall darn it, they're sick and tired of that. And so O'Brien over there at CNN, their media analyst guy, has brought in somebody to psychoanalyze the news and tell us why CNN is acting as an amplifier for Trump's destructive messages.
George, what have we been doing wrong trying to fact check the president?
Well, first of all, you do need the facts, but you need to know how to present those facts, because if you just negate what he's saying, you're going to just strengthen him. So remember, Richard Nixon said, "I am not a crook," and people thought of him as a crook. I wrote a book called Don't Think of an Elephant. It makes you think of an elephant. If you say, repeat what Donald Trump says and then negate it and say, no, and then you repeat what he says and say it's false, what you're doing is strengthening that, because in your brain, the neural circuits have to activate what you're negating in order to negate it, and that strengthens what you're negating.
I've actually heard this before. I've never had audio of it. I think I've read it. So this is not, I want to play that part again because it's fascinating. So when you are debunking something, the brain has to activate a neuron for the thing and then activate a neuron to say it's false. So in some sense, you're creating more connections for that very thing. That is tremendously fascinating to me.
No, and then you repeat what he says and say it's false. What you're doing is strengthening that, because in your brain, the neural circuits have to activate what you're negating in order to negate it, and that strengthens what you're negating.
And I think the way Trump speaks plays directly into that. The way he repeats words, the way he says things, I think plays into that way of the way our brain is wired. Speaking of things that are playing into Trump's hands.
Market loved it. That was President Trump on the stock market's performance since his election and today. The Dow hitting 21,000 for the first time ever. Investors seem to like what the president had to say last night. Lori Rothman is at the New York Stock Exchange to break it all down for us. It's like a party down there today, Lori.
The folks are jubilant down here, Melissa. As you know, we had a pause leading up to today's huge session because investors are really concerned that Trump would drop the ball last night, and as you know, he just knocked it out of the park. He delivered and then some. So essentially, the traders here telling me that Trump really locked in his promises and reassured investors that the gains we've seen in the market since Election Day, something like 14.5% on the Dow alone, 2,600 plus points, are justified. So, hey, it's no holds bar. We're up over 300 points right now.
Damn. It is crazy. Hey, buddy, how's it going over there, Mr.
Not
Chase?
too bad. How are you?
Good. I got I think 2 more things to get us the hell out of here.
Nice.
Well, I got a lot of other really good stuff in the overtime, including one of Russia Today's best clips I've ever seen them do in a while. They named, and you know what? Maybe I should just play this part. They name and shame some of these journalists that are coming on and doing commentary. And I thought this was kind of great because I've always wondered why they didn't actually be this aggressive.
Meet John Schindler, former NSA officer and Naval War College professor, often guest on major outlets and speaking events, talking about, spy stuff. Known on Twitter as 20 Committee, his feed is a Klondike for conspiracy theories, where he either pushes surreal suggestions like this one, or believes he speaks to the intelligence community and claims Trump will die in jail, all presumably from the comfort of his hot tub with a cold one in his grasp. There's one problem, though. According to the 2014 Associated Press reporting, John Schindler was fired from the Naval War College for apparently sharing a picture of his intimate part with some woman who later put it on Twitter. Schindler himself tweeted that he severed his affiliation with the college, not citing the incident which led to that, and reportedly apologized for his behavior on the blog, but the apology has apparently been taken down. Next up is former British MP Louise Mensch, also a regular appearance on morning MSNBC shows, talking about, guess what? Russia, which apparently she has no clue of. Just as that she has no clue, the late Leonard Cohen was a Canadian based on that famous tweet of hers. The Russia expert on MSNBC also wanted precision bombing raids on Russia, suggested that all major political campaigns in the United States, including that of Bernie Sanders, were financed by the Kremlin, and even suggested that Putin murdered Andrew Breitbart and the founder of this network. There's only one tiny issue here, and that is Mensch's admission from just years ago.
She's a druggie. So that was, I thought, kind of interesting. Just them actually calling out a few people on there. I want to play something for you, and I want to get your take on this. Okay.
All right.
Sean Hannity goes to visit President Bush, and does this seem like a man who's hiding a deep, dark secret? I mean, something's going on inside this man's head.
Yeah.
So Bush has got himself a Clinton Foundation style setup going on. And in this museum, they gave him something to do, and that's a place to hang up his paintings. So it's this huge political apparatus built around the former president. And
all former presidents have libraries.
Yeah, this has been taking a while to get up and running. It's taken him a little while to get this going. So now we're up and going. We got a building.
Okay. All right.
And so he's inviting the press to bring him in. And he's showing Sean Hannity his paintings, which seem to me, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's almost like they betray something about the man that is is a little odd. So, like, I'll give you an example here as we just sort of file through this here.
All right.
This is of course we're getting this whole tour, but I thought this one was particularly interesting.
Now here is this is the piece. This is 16 feet long.
15 long, right?
Yeah. And this is, I painted, as you can see, except for these two guys, the uniforms were pretty uniform because they were all part of something. Even though in different branches of the service, they were part of something bigger than themselves, serving the country.
You know what we're looking at? Isn't this the mural of heroes?
And when you see him in the face, Chase, he seems like he's not even there.
Yeah, he is. It's America. Yeah. It's people from all walks of life who put on the uniform.
You see that? It's like the band's not even there.
Nah, I don't get that.
And they volunteered to do so. And
maybe that's just
so
his
people,
casual talking
what
face.
What an amazing country.
And he is older too, so maybe his facial features don't show too much.
And one should not feel sorry for them, but we ought to be thankful to them.
We ought to be thankful.
And we ought to help them. And that's what we do here at the Bush Center. That's why I'm so thankful you came down, because I want to talk about to vets who are listening. Get on the bushcenter.org website. We can help you find a job, and we can help you deal with your invisible wounds of war.
Something about him seems a little disconnected. It's an odd thing. All right, I won't play these clips. I just wanted to let people know they're in the supporter sync, and you can also dig around and find them on YouTube. We're going to go out with little Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters was called by pranksters, like Ukrainian pranksters, I think, and pretended to be I can't remember. But, geez, it's in here. Here we go.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, good morning, dear representative. This is Prime Minister of Ukraine, Vladimir Groisman.
Good morning, this is Maxine Waters.
Oh man.
I already love it.
This is Maxine Waters.
I'm glad to hear you. First of all, I want to tell you that we are really appreciate what you do regarding our country.
So that you can get the rest of it. It's pretty good. But it gets even better. They also prank called John McCain.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hello, dear Senator. How are you?
Well, I've been reading about the new attacks.
So this is an interesting one because later on they tell him that somebody has some dirt on him.
Actually, I'd be very interested.
And then John McCain says he'd like to get that dirt.
I thank you, Mr. Prime Minister,
for the heads up.
I will look forward to them revealing how I was brainwashed by our North Vietnamese friends. I thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, and I'd be very interested. Actually, I'd be very interested, and maybe you could ask your ambassador to tell me more about that information.
It's all fake.
I'd be very interested.
Hook a brother up. That'd be great.
And we got a secret information from our security service that Russia and Putin personally are planning a series of hacker attacks on your servers or on your personal servers. And Putin has already issued an order to his personal hackers, Aberwalk and Slavik. They are already in the blacklist and they are under sanction. And then his special pranksters, Alexis and Vavan, that they want to make attacks on your phone line 24 hours. So I just need to let you know that.
I thank you very much for that information, and I will certainly be aware of it.
That's just all right. So that's in there, and then. That was pretty good, though. They got him, right?
Yeah. But it's easier if you have a good accent.
And of course, you figure, well, even if he got my phone line, if he got my phone number, he must be important, because I'm so important, and I'm important enough that they'd want to talk to me.
Of course.
But if somebody was going to do a prank call, do you know who would do the best prank call?
Wow. Alec Baldwin probably as Trump.
Nobody can do it like me. Nobody can do it like me. Honestly.
Nobody's stronger than me.
Nobody has better toys than I do.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
Nobody loves the Bible more than I do.
Nobody builds walls better than me.
Nobody's better to people with disabilities than me. Nobody's fighting for the veterans like I'm fighting for the veterans.
There's nobody that's done so much for equality as I have.
There's nobody more pro-Israel than I am.
There's nobody more conservative than me. There is nobody that respects women more than I do. Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump.
Nobody's ever had crowds like Trump has had.
There's nobody that understands
Nobody.
the horror of nuclear better than me.
It goes on, Chase.
And nobody understands how awesome the show more than he does.
Thank you for listening to the whole damn show. If you've made it this far, that wraps us up. The overtime was brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/unfilter. And yeah, we'll see you back here next week.
See ya.
All right. So, Chase, you didn't get a Pixel, right? You're oh shoot.
I'm still rocking the 6P.
I don't know where my phone's at.
Uh-oh.
Oh well. Geez, that's a big phone. I'm back on the 6P because I'm having some problems with my Lightning port.
What?
Yeah. And it wouldn't be like the worst thing is like so sometimes my audio pauses or cuts out and I have to like reconnect. But that's not so bad. Like I can manage that. But what's bad is it's starting to disconnect from my DJI 4 remote while I'm in flight.
Not good.
I've had it happen now 3 times.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
Hey,
don't worry. You're gonna pick up the next iPhone, what, 10, right, or 8 or whatever. That's gonna be $1,000, and it's gonna have USB-C, and it's gonna be so good. It's gonna fold your laundry.
So good.
It's so good.
So good. So you don't have Google Assistant on there yet, right?
What's the big deal?
I don't know.
It?
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of curious. I would poo-poo the Echo too until I got a couple, and then I think now I really like them.
Well, now instead of talking to somebody, you're talking to a robot. Which is your dream as a Star Trek guy.
But you know what was kind of nice is, by the way, it made it easier to switch phones because the Echoes control all my smart devices. I don't have to have the apps on my phone.
Oh, that's
and
true.
so, I mean, I'll eventually get around to setting it up on the Nexus, but it made switching from the iPhone easier than I expected.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I was just kind of, I don't know, I'm just back in it. I'm curious. I think this time around, one of the things I want to experiment with is really jacking up my notifications, trying to get some serious, like, like rules and automatic triggers and if this and that kind of stuff. I was kind of disappointed in the Nest app and in the Ring app because on iOS, when you get a notification from Nest,
right,
you can hard press that notification and it pops up on the lock screen with a GIF of what the camera got.
Oh, wow.
And that doesn't appear to be the case on Android, which you'd think's being a Google apps. Maybe it's a limitation. But when you get an alert that the camera has detected a human in your home,
right,
and the fact that on the notification screen you get the very moment that it detects, it's like you don't gotta wait for an app to launch, for a camera to stream to start. It's in the notification.
It's got to be an app thing because like I get notifications because I have Kuna. And so if someone walks in front of the camera, I get a push notification with a screenshot of what just happened.
In the notification?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to play around with the Nest app because that's what I'm supposed to. I thought, based on iOS, that's what I'd be getting.
Yeah. No, I get a screenshot of it. I mean, I don't have one to show you because I've already cleared it.
Do you see the Telegram has a dark theme now?
Yes.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Yes, it's nice that the Russians. I mean that Telegram's doing some good stuff.
The Putingram.
The Putingrams.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting to be back. So I'm back on Pocket Cast, which is not bad. Pocket Cast is not bad.
No, it's not bad.
Overcast is really great though.
Yeah.
But
no, Pocket Cast is good.
Yeah, it's good.
I've used it,
Yeah, it's
and
good.
I'm still using it.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. It's.
I just like the flexibility of Android. I can really customize it to my heart's content. I can.
What's your favorite thing to do? I mean, 'cause I'm not sure what to like. I'm like, okay, this is fine, but it doesn't seem all that. What launcher do you use? You use the Now launcher?
I'm using Now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm using.
Yeah. I like my. I
think Google Assistant's like one of the things I'm hoping makes it interesting.
See, I just don't see what the big deal is. I'm just like, oh, so what? I can have a conversation. What's the difference between that and OK Google?
I think the difference would be the home automation integration if you have like smart things.
See, I really don't have that. But then again, it's just like.
You don't have like any kind of like live fix bulbs or fuse lights?
No.
You should play around with the live fix bulbs. They're not too expensive. They're like, $36 to $40 for a Wi-Fi bulb that doesn't require a hub.
I mean, I've thought about it.
They're fun.
Yeah.
Even just making the room like a different color is neat.
Go to blue mode and everything goes blue. Have you set it up yet to when you say, hello Alexa, red alert, and everything goes red? I mean,
no, but I can say, Alexa, trigger studio red lights. Oh, she didn't hear me.
Yeah, see, that's
or I can do Alexa, turn on accent lights. I don't know if she's dead.
This is great technology.
Is AWS down again? Oh my God, yesterday was bad.
I bet it was.
Yeah. I couldn't get the studio lights turned on.
Well, it was down yesterday because, that's, NSA is trying to install their new Prism device on Amazon. And
Alexa.
I had to bring it down.
What time is it?
It's 5:15.
Okay, so she's, Alexa, trigger studio red lights.
Sending that to it.
Oh, okay, well now she's working. Alexa, turn on studio accent lights.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
Okay.
That's cool.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and even just adding ambiance or giving a background. And the nice thing about those, right, is I can set any color. So when I'm recording different segments, I can change the colors to sort of like, to give it just a little bit of a background splash.
And those are hue background lights?
Yeah, I forget what those ones are called. They're like I forget. But they're all on Amazon.
Yeah.
So those are the bulbs that just go in regular light sockets.
Yeah.
And then those are they just go in power, and then you just connect them through the app. The only downside with the hues, I think they're probably the best quality product, but the downside with the hues is they do require a hub. So your best way to get in is with a starter pack, because then the hub comes in there. Otherwise, you got to pay for the hub like $130 separate. Whereas with the LIFX bulbs, LIFIX, I think, pretty cool hardware and no hub required. Just gets right on your Wi-Fi network. It's LI. I don't think there's an E. Search for. I think it's LIFIX. And I have that up in my room. Also works with the Echo, and has some really cool options. Like it is, you can have it like emulate sort of like a fire flicker a little bit, but it's done well. It's like this warm. It's all really nice, and I don't know. It is especially when you can put it in there, and the thing is like the spousal approval is surprisingly high, because it can really set a nice tone to a room in a way that changes the room the light coloring can change the feel of a room that you've lived around, you've been in for years and years and years, and all of a sudden you put one of these bulbs in, and it feels like a completely different room.
Oh wow!
And it can feel warmer, and it's really cool. And then if you have I don't know about LIFX, although they're pretty open. I would think the Google Assistant, then you could bark at that to tell it what color to set, to turn it on or off, like you can with the Echo.
Oh yeah, they got an app and everything. That's pretty neat.
The one thing I'm kind of curious about Google Assistant, just because it seems like Google, they're going to have the Google Home, they're going to build it into all of the new Wear 2.0 devices. They're going to build it into their TV set-top boxes. They're going to have it built into televisions. They may just steamroll right over the Echo. Maybe not. We'll see.
There's the Echo.
Yeah, I do like it a lot.
But you have the Dot.
I have the Dots here, and then I have the Echo at the at the RV. So I have that where I want like an actual like Bluetooth speaker where we want to listen to music. And if I have existing speakers, I think the Dot's the way to go.
So why should I get an Alexa or an Echo?
Cancel.
I should say. Sorry.
Cancel. Stop. Well, right now it does a lot more. So there's like 7,000 skills that you can install.
But over Google,
I don't know.
Home?
I think it's a fair. I think right now the Echo is a more developed product. It has way more hardware that it integrates with. That's a lot cheaper. And Amazon's pushing it hard, and they have a wider ecosystem. So the Home is one little cylinder, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this, I was able to put Dots in 3 rooms of this studio.
Yeah, that's true.
So you have a flexibility of a different hardware, a range of hardware products, including they have a slightly larger one. And if you have like an existing speaker system, why not just go with the Dot or a Bluetooth speaker even? But I think there's a bit of a delay. So I don't know. They have a good range of partners they're working with, and the Echo has gotten so big that manufacturers are even naming their products to put works with Alexa in the product name. Like Belkin's now making products to say work with Alexa.
That's smart.
And do you have Audible?
I do.
And then, so it works really nice with Audible. Of course, it works with Spotify and all that shit too. But it's kind of great in that sense.
Not bad.
I think where Google will pull ahead is it depends on what kind of, if you want something to control hardware and do basic functionality like control timers and ask basic queries. And of course, if you want to buy Amazon products, which could be useful, I suppose. I have not done that yet. Then the Echo is the way to go for sure. If you want something you can ask a lot of questions to, like you would OK Google, like a bunch of query type stuff. Sorry, cancel. Then the Home's better because anytime. Oh, there's my phone. Oh, I wondered where that was. Anytime you've ever done a Google search and you got a card at the top of your Google search that explained what you were looking for, the Home's going to be able to answer that. So there's way more things I bet that the Home could answer if that's your style. The problem is I don't think to ask that stuff to my Echo. In fact, if I didn't use some of the home automation hardware, I pretty much only would ever otherwise use the Echo for audible music and timers, but I use it daily, several times a day to control hardware every single day. I even put an oil heater on it.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm. Okay, Google. How do I get Google Assistant?
According to TechRadar, to do this, open up Settings and scroll to Apps. Tap it, then scroll down to find Google App. Tap it, then tap Storage, then Clear Cache. Google Assistant should now be available on your Android device. You may need to update your device first for it to appear.
Can you believe it just answered that question that well? That is an incredible answer. So, okay, I'm just going to try this real quick and then we'll start. So go open up Settings, scroll to Apps, and then tap it, scroll down to Google App, and then tap it Storage. That's a lot of shit, dude.
I don't think it's going to
Okay, work. So what did it say I should do? I already forgot. Okay, go to Apps, and then go to Storage. Okay, I'm sorry about this, everybody, but this is important. Obviously.
Breaking news here.
So go to Apps, and then go to Storage. But okay, go to Google Apps. Where do I clear storage? Oh my God, this makes me feel like an old man.
What? I don't understand.
It said go to Google Apps, but oh Jesus, what does it mean by that?
I don't care.
Okay, so then scroll down to Google App, and then tap it, and then click Storage. Google App? Just Google App? There's supposed to be an app installed called, oh, yes, there is. Interesting. Storage. Clear cache. Okay. Oh my God, I think I just did it. And then it says, Google Assistant should now be available on your Android device. You may need to update your device first for it to appear. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
I don't know. Those are not complete instructions.
No. Okay, Google. Start Google Assistant. All right, I give up.
You know, if you have the ALLO app, you get Google Assistant.
Yeah, have you played with that? I know, that's what it brings up. So the reason why I think I kind of want to try it on Android is because I want to do a kind of a head-to-head to the lady in the tubes. Okay. All right. Now I'm starving. Jeez, I've been timing my food so bad around my shows lately. It's been the worst. Good idea. It's the worst. I don't like podcasting on an empty stomach. You know what I mean?
It's not a good idea.
No. All right. Well, this thing might make some noise because I just rebooted it. This thing gets super hot when it's working hard. Like it gets really hot. Yeah. Like I turned it on.
How's your battery life? Because I've heard the if you got around launch time, the batteries are starting to fail right about now.
I don't know. It's sat for quite a while. It's too big. It honestly is too big.
It's perfect.
It's not comfortable in my hand.
You have small, dainty hands.
I think I should. I don't know. Do you think they're going to release another Pixel anytime soon?
I think they're going to wait to see what Apple does before they release anything. I bet.
Are you thinking about getting a Pixel?
Not until this phone dies. I love the front-facing speakers, and the Pixel doesn't have that.
Jeez, this thing is loud. That's one of the reasons why I'm stalling is because I don't know what the audio levels are at. And I'm worried it's going to go off in the middle of a show. Because so many other things. Yeah, I'm on the beta channel.
You're still
right
in the beta.
now.
Yeah, I'm out of beta.
I don't know. You know, I don't know. I got on that because I was having Bluetooth problems. See, I don't think I have Assistant. Damn it, Chase.
Womp womp.
This thing had one job. One job. It's funny that Google tells me a way to do it and it doesn't work. That's hilarious. You know what was weird is I had Cairo 7 up the other day.
Yeah.
And I did an OK Googs and I asked it for the TV guide, and it gave me the TV guide for Channel 7. Cairo.
Nice.
Do you think it was listening in the background?
Well, it's possible. There is embedded audio signatures that you and I can't hear that it could pick up.
That seems kind of creepy, dude.
I know.
You think so? You're telling me that Cairo 7 is. So what you're saying is Cairo 7 is broadcasting something.
Well, every TV channel
does that. Yeah.
Every TV channel, because that's how ratings are measured.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a hidden audio signature that picks up the source, channel, program, all that.
So that's
fun
probably
jazz.
what it did then, huh?
It's possible, but I don't know if they are or not. Typically, that's proprietary technology, so I don't know.
I'm pretty impressed by kind of a pain in the ass, and I think part of the reason is I'm on the side of a barn, but I can tune the antenna on the top of the RV and I can get different local HD broadcasts.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty great. That HD over the air is pretty damn great.
It's the best quality you can get.
I was able to watch the whole Trump thing just over the air. And I started setting up Sling TV, and I was going to stream it over this MiFi connection, and Hidea's like, well, why don't you just watch it on the antenna?
Yeah, just watch it over the air.
Oh, shit, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I didn't mute it. Also, by the way, officially, the results are in. The fingerprint reader is not nearly as good as the iPhone 7s, but that's okay. I have literally, unless I've been swimming or in the shower, I never have it misread, ever.
I've never had a problem either.
Bullshit.
No,
you
I
lie.
haven't.
You
No.
lie. I say 1 out of every 3 even.
What?
Yeah.
A 33% failure rate?
Easily. Yeah, man.
Have you reprogrammed your finger lately?
Also, I could do that. Also, by the way, but I've done it before because of the same problem. But did you know that on the 5X, they just recently updated it where you can flick through notifications by flicking the fingerprint reader?
Oh,
like you can on the Pixel?
Yeah, they have not pushed that
No,
to this.
6P doesn't get that.
Yeah.
6P don't get that. 6P don't get that. All right, here we go. It is Unfilter, episode 227, and it begins right now in 3, in 2. This is Unfilter, episode 227 for March 1st, 2017.
Unity.
Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't know where to go with this intro, so I went with that. Okay, sorry about that. My mute button fell down. You know that happens, Chase, to us older guys. You get past
take
35.
pills. You take pills for that.
I can't remember. I think I'm 35. I can't
Lots
remember.
of pills.
All right, here we go. 3, 2. This is Unfiltered, episode 227 for March 1st, 2017.
Unity is to be the theme tonight in the president's first address to a joint session of Congress. His audience will be Republicans and Democrats, top military commanders, members of the Supreme Court, and we the people, the whole Constitution under one dome. President Trump is expected to call for sharp increases in spending for defense and infrastructure. But if unity is to be the theme, it would be a fresh start for Mr. Trump, who has attacked powerful members of his own party, called federal judges dumber than a bad high school student, and declared the news media the enemy of the American people.
Fresh off the State of the... Oh, no, they're not calling it the State of the Union. They're calling it the Joint Session Speech at Congress. Whatever. Welcome to Unfilter, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly show about the news you shouldn't be watching. I'm Chase, and Chris, that was over there, fresh off of watching this really historical speech in the Democratic response.
You know why it matters? Because it means we're still going to have to listen to the State of the Union speech.
That's right.
Still coming up.
It's still first State of the Union.
Yeah. It's an interesting week, Mr. Chase. We have some of our regular steak and potatoes to get into,
right?
And then we are going to break down a few key moments of the speech. So if you
just have one question.
Yes, sir, go.
As long as we cyber,
You bet. Yeah. Oh, I went out of my way to make sure we had a cyber clip just for you, buddy, because I know it's important.
Well, I always like to cyber at the start of the show.
Because otherwise, if we go a week without cybering,
I get jealous.
This is something that I feel like our audience is savvy enough to be aware of these types of problems. But I think what this story represents is a massive problem for Joe and Jane America.
There's a new way to compromise the privacy of your family. It's through your children's toys. Over 2 million recorded conversations of parents and children have been exposed in a security breach involving stuffed animals from the brand Cloud Pets.
Have you heard about this?
No.
Oh, man, it's so bad, Chase.
The Los Angeles-based company was contacted about the issue back in December, but today, the Cloud Pets has yet to inform its users of the breach, a violation of California state law. RT's Brigitte Santos has more for us from Los Angeles.
So it's so bad. They had their MongoDB database out on the internet with no firewall, no password.
What?
They were compromised at least 4 times that researchers can determine from 4 different attackers. Some of their data was held for ransom.
Wow.
The issue is, once you got the MongoDB, you were able to get the hashes of the passwords. I don't think that was a very good hash. And then you were also able to get the URL strings for the recordings, all of the voice recordings of like the messages and the images, the profile pictures.
Unbelievable.
All of that, all of the account details, including the children's name, parents' name, their address.
Lawsuit.
Yeah, and then the company was notified over and over and over again, and they did nothing about it.
So do they have any response on this at all?
No, nothing. In fact, they haven't even updated their blog since 2015. They do have this. Check out. So here's the product promotion.
Saying goodbye can be hard.
Yeah,
the ones you love seem so far.
They do.
Now, staying in touch is easy and fun with Cloud Pets. Just record a message.
Hope you had a good day at school. I miss you.
And send to the cloud. In just seconds, it floats down to the app on your smart device, allowing you to send the message to the Cloud Pet.
Hope you had a good day at school. I miss you.
So they had about, I think, 800,000 user accounts exposed.
Or they could just call their kid.
Yeah, I know. Or just send a voice message over the default messaging app.
Yeah.
Or I know, it's a bad product. Yeah.
Brigitte, tell me about the data that's been leaked, these recorded findings, and is there anything else?
So there were 820 user accounts that were exposed here, and it wasn't just those 2.2 million recordings. In fact, it was also their passwords, email accounts, and also their photos. And these cute stuffed toys, which include things like unicorns and cats and dogs, they're supposed to be a fun way for parents to communicate with their children, but the fun has now been taken out of that. And this is how these toys work. Now,
Now, the other problem is because they want the product to be simple for parents, children, and grandparents, because they also sell this heavily to grandparents to talk to their grandchildren.
Yeah.
They wanted to make the user sign-up process simple and straightforward, so you can put single character passwords in there. In their tutorial, they show you to do a 3-character password, QWE.
Actually, you know what? Not a terrible idea, because at least people are not going to use the same password as their email and their bank.
Maybe, dude.
Yeah.
So it's pretty bad. And the reason why I want to mention it on this show is because I think the larger issue here is there isn't a mechanism in place to properly inform the average public, because the average public citizen gets their news from the mainstream media, and they don't have a mechanism to. RT is the only company covering this, and they're barely getting it right. She said 820 users when it's 820,000. It's bad.
Whew.
It's bad.
That's really bad.
All right, let's shift gears from cyber to the people who love to cyber the most, your friends over at Russia, Mr. Putin. And there has been a call by Representative Issa, by others, to have Sessions recuse himself from the investigations into the Russians hacking the election.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And so this has been something that's been building. Issa went on the Sunday show. He said it in an interview. And so now the White House, the next, Monday morning, has been asked, how do you respond to this? What is your response to the call to have Sessions step aside and have an independent investigation?
All right, let's hear about it.
And I guess my question would be a special prosecutor for what?
Look into the whole Russia connection.
But yeah, and here's my right. And I guess
he was part of the campaign. Sessions was part of the campaign.
I understand, but here's my question, Jonathan. We have now for 6 months heard story after story come out about unnamed sources say the same thing over and over again. and nothing's come of it, right? We've heard the same people, the same anecdotes, and we've heard reports over and over again. And as Chairman Nunes made very clear today, he has seen nothing that corroborates that.
Yeah, he did say that. I find this there has been this call for the investigation, yet the FBI says they're not looking to press charges. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. They want an investigation of what specifically?
Right.
What specifically do they want an investigation of?
Do they want to have like a distinctive tie here, or like?
The DNC chair was elected, and there was speeches leading up to it, and it was just Russia hacked us. We were violated by Russia. They doubled down on that narrative. And so it's amazing, because what the Democratic Party needs is, in my opinion, they should have gone with the populist candidate if they wanted to win. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think you look at the results of what the Democrats, the state of their party right now, I think it's pretty clear that if they would have hitched their wagon to the Sanders or even the Elizabeth Warrens, they probably would have gotten a lot closer. If not, I think personally they probably would have won the election.
Yeah, I think Sanders probably would have done better in other down ballot issues as well.
Instead, the establishment Democrats, instead of recognizing this fact, which may or may not be true, but at least instead of even entertaining this idea, they've doubled down on trying to start a war with Russia and allying themselves with the CIA. And now, in a stroke of so much brilliance that honestly it's so obvious after hearing it, we really should have put in the Red Book. It's so great because it tidies up a very dirty loose end that exposes all of this Russia stuff as a scam.
Oh?
It's so brilliant, we should have thought of it. Remember, I think we both believe pretty firmly, and remember we said we were going to try to mention this more on the show, and we've forgotten to do it. But there is a man's name that we should be mentioning every show, and it's Seth Rich. And the information that we got, the quote-unquote leaks from the DNC that exposed Donald Brazil giving Hillary Clinton's campaign questions and answers ahead of time, or the question ahead of time, that exposed them rigging it against Bernie, that exposed them creating Craigslist ads to make Donald Trump look sexist, that got Debbie and her top-level crew fired. Those leaks didn't come from Russian hacks like Donna Brazil would have us believe.
That's correct.
They came from a man named Seth Rich who was murdered in the street for those leaks.
Right. Case still open. Still don't know what happened.
And funny enough, today there was a local news report about Seth Rich. And listen to how tidy everything winds up.
Aaron, the murder of DNC staffer Seth Rich remains unsolved. It's been 8 months now since his death. He was killed in the early morning hours of July 10th in D.C.'s Bloomingdale neighborhood.
D.C. police have had very few leads in this case. However, they have said they believe it was a botched robbery. But this morning, a possible break in the case. Republican lobbyist Jack Berkman, who's put up reward money in this case, says he has new evidence linking Rich's murder to Rich's discovery that Russian operatives had hacked the DNC.
All right, Jack joins us live in this.
This is new information. It has never been claimed that it was Seth Rich that discovered the Russians hacked the DNC. That is a new claim that they are making.
But this morning, a possible break in the case. Republican lobbyist Jack Berkman, who's put up reward money in this case, says he has new evidence linking Rich's murder to Rich's discovery that Russian operatives had hacked the DNC.
All right, Jack joins us live in the
It was the Russians. Because Seth Rich exposed the Russian hack, Putin had Seth Rich murdered.
With more this morning. Good to see you once again.
Now look at this guy. There could not be a sleazier local news reporter. This is so stereotypically bad. This son of a bitch, this investigative reporter who won't let this story go because he cares so damn much, he got a little birdie come up to his shoulder. This little birdie was a CIA official and told him a little story, and now he's reporting back to us. Check out this whammy.
All right, break down.
Like a spy novel.
Yes, exactly.
It does. I wish I had. It's kind of it's a morbid subject, but it's a hopeful subject because finally some progress, and it's
hopeful. Hopeful chase.
My job to bring closure to the family. That's what I'm trying to do. You get a
He's
lot.
trying to bring closure to the family.
Well, good for him.
He's trying, yeah, by doing this.
And it's my job to bring closure to the family. That's what I'm trying to do. You get a lot of crank calls in this type of role. I've done this sort of stuff before. It's just part of the job. But I think I have something credible here.
So he gets a phone call. This son of a bitch gets a phone call.
Approached by a guy who styles himself as a former U.S. intel officer.
A former U.S. intel officer.
So far, there's nothing substantial here.
But this is how we've been getting everything. This is how we've gotten all of the Russian stuff, is intel officers, intel officials who don't want to be named. Haven't they all come from that?
It's all been that
all
way.
of it has been. And now this local reporter, Jack, who's been looking into this for a while, this guy even put up a bounty, like 25.
Oh, a reward.
He's one of the guys that put up a bounty. Like, this has been his cause to trying to find who the murderer was.
Here was approached by a guy who styles himself as a former U.S. intel officer. I quizzed him. I think he's credible. You never know motive of people. But what he said is basically this, that Seth discovered that the Russians had been hacking, and therefore the Russian government did away with Seth. Now,
isn't that a beautiful piece of tidying work? How could we not have seen that coming?
Yeah, but
that's gorgeous, man.
I don't know how anybody watching this can take that even seriously without any substantiated, like...
Oh, but Chase, the timeline works.
One of the things that, just like you, I have to judge credibility of people telling me these things. The timeline would seem to match. Seth was killed in July. The story about Russia hacking into the DNC and possibly other places happened in August.
You know, that timeline does make sense. You know what else makes sense? Seth Rich was murdered, and then they needed to spin up a narrative to cover their asses and prevent them losing the election, having that murder traced back to them.
You mean like a YouTube video kind of narrative?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. That also sort of works with the timeline.
Telling me these things. The timeline would seem to match. Seth was killed in July. The story about Russia hacking into the DNC and possibly other places happened in August.
Incredible.
The timeline matches.
Why are you so committed to this, Jack?
Oh, I think, really, we could cut the clip off here, but you just need to witness this man in action. Witness this man. You wonder, could he come up with a more narcissistic response than I'm really in it for the families. I do it for the family. I do it because I want to give the family closure. I mean, that's kind of a narcissist thing to say, but man, this one's a zinger.
My mother used to talk to me about safety when I moved to D.C. In those days, D.C., I think, had almost 2,500 murders a year. Yeah. I pictured my mother getting that call that...
Oh, my God.
Mary Rich got that morning. Just a cold call. Picture yourself, 6 a.m., you have children.
I pictured my mom getting a call about me.
Think about it. Think about it right now. It's
your son's dead.
In the morning, 61
And
degrees.
think about how that hits you. I couldn't get a call, my dog is dead.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah. Duluth, you're on the air.
He did it for political reasons. I'm glad he did it, but don't give me a break. Is that not a... So this guy who's been raising a stink about Seth Rich's death conveniently gets a phone call from a previous CIA official.
You also got to look at the sources here as far as look what television station he's on. Now,
I agree.
But
that could be the beginning of something that takes off.
Yeah, it's tough, though, because it's like, how could Fox 5 even let him on to spew this without really any hard information or evidence? He says as a former CIA, anybody could say they're former anything.
I know, my blood pressure is seriously so high from that right now. It makes me so furious because Seth Rich exposed massive corruption, systemic in the DNC leadership, that is fundamentally causing their losses. And Seth Rich exposed that, and it's now been spun as Russian hackers, and then to tie it all together is so beautiful that... It's really quite gorgeous. In a sense, we should have seen it coming, right?
What, the spin? This spin?
Yeah, that the Russians killed him.
Why would...
because the piece we were missing, which this guy now adds, is that Seth Rich was the one that discovered the DNC hack. And of course, the FBI was never allowed to investigate the servers directly. They had to go with CrowdStrike's report, so...
Yeah, obviously, I don't believe him, and, without having real unrefutable evidence, that kind of thing. But this is just like, it's just a made-up theory.
What would be so great if this takes off is Seth Rich is the short circuit to the Russian hack logic story. So if somebody is going all in on Russia and all of this, Seth Rich is the key to proving that it was actually a leak from a Sanders supporter inside the DNC who was pissed off what they were doing to his guy, and he wanted to do something about it. Seth Rich was a patriot. The man has a flag outfit. You can go find pictures of Seth like celebrating the 4th of July. You can see Seth is passionate about U.S. politics. He was invested emotionally in Bernie Sanders' campaign. He was pissed off when he saw what was happening to Sanders, and he exposed it, and he was killed for it. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Let's move to the big. What was really we just got to get to this because otherwise it's going to be the elephant in the room the entire show. Trump's big address to Congress. Before we get directly into that, I want to lead up to the very hostile situation that started happening with the press, starting with this gaggle.
Breaking news is the fact that we have just learned here at CNN that CNN has been blocked from a White House gaggle. Gaggle, essentially, informal gathering of reporters, print, radio, television, coming together to be briefed, in this case, by the White House. The White House daily briefing not happening today. And traditionally, and you've seen the pictures, lots of reporters are included in that. This is so incredibly significant because this has never happened in this administration. Not only is CNN blocked, other organizations blocked, the New York Times, the LA Times, and Politico. Apparently, the White House Correspondents Association is protesting. And as we're getting more information, just a little bit of context, as we've been taking CPAC, this conservative conference in Washington, D.C., we heard from the president this morning, and he doubled down on his tweet from just a couple of days ago, essentially saying the media is the enemy of the American people.
So how do you feel about this this particular story? I'm curious, since you're close to the industry. How has this been? This seems like this is something that would really step on the professionals' toes.
So the major 4 networks were there: ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox.
Yeah, and so essentially the press pool was there. So the other agencies like CNN could still get access.
And the excuse, I think it was Spicer gave the excuse that, well, there's just a limited number of spaces or rooms or whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
It's bullshit. It's total bullshit. And I think this is just a little bit of a side zinger. This wasn't a full, as you heard, this wasn't the normal press conference. And the term gaggle is kind of weird. I had to look it up too. But it is an informal, small gathering, a brief update of what's going on. Maybe there was space limitations. Who knows?
I've heard it before.
Yeah.
It's not I've heard it in this context as well.
But it does definitely feel like an intentional zing. And that's the part that is very almost scary in a way, where you have an administration, if it's intentional or not, trying to shut out.
It got a little weird.
Outlets.
There was some moments too where the CNN people tried to get in, and they're like, no, you got to go, you got to leave, you can't come in here, and that's it was a little awkward. But it is. If you had a gaggle on Air Force One, it would not be uncommon for only certain.
Right, because there's only so many outlets that are on that plane.
Right.
Yeah. That travel with the actually there is a traveling press corps, if you will.
Yeah.
It's not the same as the corps that would go and do the White House briefings.
I think it's funny though, because none of this feels uniquely new to me. Like, the media is now spinning it as if Donald Trump is it's like all of a sudden. But
the part that hasn't happened before was this, where certain outlets were intentionally excluded.
That's not true, actually. I mean, I can't remember. I don't have the specifics, but other outlets have been excluded in the past. And I think
as
also
prominent as CNN.
I don't think so. I think that
Times,
but they were. I can't remember the details because it was a while.
I mean, sure, maybe you're going to exclude blogger X or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
no, it was somebody more prominent than that. But I think also I put it in context of what we've been seeing for the past 8 years. The past 8 years, there's been a war on journalism. For example, I went into our own archives and I looked at some of the stuff we were covering about this around the time that the Snowden leaks came out. This is pretty early in the Snowden leaks. Glenn Greenwald was still working at The Guardian, and the Obama administration was jailing journalists.
As we shift gears and turn to the first report on press freedom in the United States ever published by the Committee to Protect Journalists, which usually advocates for press freedoms overseas, and the news isn't good. Titled The Obama Administration and the Press, the report looks at the many ways President Obama has ushered in a paralyzing climate of fear for both reporters and their sources.
Oh, I remember. There was like a gaggle or something under the Obama administration where they kicked out a Fox News reporter because a few years before Obama was elected, he had written a pretty negative teardown of Obama.
So they kicked out the reporter or the outlet, though?
The reporter.
See, that,
yeah, it's different, but it also
different.
seems more personal in some way.
Yeah.
So this report's pretty interesting.
Among the cases it details, 6 government employees plus 2 contractors, including Edward Snowden, have faced felony criminal prosecution since 2009 under the 1917 Espionage Act for leaking classified information to the press, compared with just 3 prosecutions in all previous U.S. administrations.
See, that's a huge number. Like, one more time.
Criminal prosecution, paralyzing climate of fear for both reporters and their sources. Among the cases it details, 6 government employees plus 2 contractors, including Edward Snowden, have faced felony criminal prosecution since 2009 under the 1917 Espionage Act for leaking classified information to the press, compared with just 3 prosecutions in all previous U.S. administrations. The Department of Justice has also secretly subpoenaed and seized Associated Press reporters' phone logs and emails, and New York Times reporter James Risen was ordered to testify against a former CIA officer who provided leaked information to him.
So that, you remember, that I thought was particularly interesting. Obama, when they found out, when the CIA was leaking to the media, when they found the guy, the way they found him, I forgot about this, is they got the judge to force the reporter to hand it over.
Or Risen would go to jail.
And remember that? And in fact, there was another journalist who wound up in jail.
The new report is written by Leonard Downey, former executive editor of The Washington Post. He spoke with dozens of journalists who told him officials are, quote, reluctant to discuss even unclassified information because they fear that leak investigations and government surveillance make it more difficult for reporters to protect them as sources. It comes as Glenn Greenwald, columnist for Britain's Guardian newspaper, who's based in Brazil, and his partner David Miranda testified before a Brazilian Senate committee this week about his work with NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden.
So it's just kind of interesting to go back in time and see when Obama was dealing with leaks, how he responded. And it was pretty heavy. I mean, I would say that's a war on journalists.
Yeah, no, definitely. And now it makes you wonder, you know, maybe Obama wasn't as blatant in public statements, and
that was the difference, right? He wasn't as loud about it,
right? And
the media learned, like, well, if we the media said, okay, well, if we that's, I think maybe if you look back at it, that's got to be the defining change in tone that the media had with Obama. That's got to be it.
Has to be.
The ones that decided to play ball stuck around,
right? But now you have an administration that is just all in against and calling, you know, the media the enemy of the people, you know, and it's a very
different tone for sure.
Totally different tone.
Spicer is getting some real crap for this. I guess they're trying to really just get all these leaks figured out. Figure out who's got them.
Checking of the phones.
Yeah, this
this is good.
Right now, Fox News has learned that White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer is taking several steps to crack down on possible leaks coming from inside the White House. Kristen Fisher is joining us now live at the White House with the latest details on this story. Kristen, what can you tell us?
Well, Uma, a senior administration official has just confirmed the extent to which White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer is willing to go to try to plug all of the leaks that keep seeping out of this White House. Now, according to this senior administration official, last week, Spicer called nearly 24 staffers into his office and asked them to hand over their phones to prove that they had nothing to hide, that they weren't the leakers. He also reportedly warned all the staffers in the room that round 1 of this was, quote unquote, recess compared to what would happen in round 2 of their investigation. So
Spicer talking tough.
Actually,
Spicy Sean.
Do you think Spicer checked Kellyanne's phone?
Let me flip through your photos here.
Yeah. The ones that she took from the couch.
Oh, come on. Are we doing that? Don't make me pull up all the other pictures of people with their feet on the furniture.
I know. I'm just having fun with it.
I think it's kind of next level because it got way more people looking at that picture of Trump with all of those black community leaders there.
Yeah.
So way more people saw Trump with that room packed full of those community leaders. in some ways, it was sort of like a 4D chess move because in order for everybody to complain about Kellyanne Conway being on the couch, you had to see what she was taking a picture of.
Right. Exactly.
It's 4D chess, man. Speaking of 4D chess, there was also a shot at the media when it came to their favorite event of the year, where they get to sit around and talk, roast each other and pat each other on the back, talk about how great they are.
Now to the president and the media. Our most recent Fox poll indicates the presidency has better approval numbers. 53% say they have confidence. 46% do not.
Isn't that kind of awkward? Because you're the media, right? So you're kind of promoting you're so desperate to promote how popular Trump is. You're promoting how unpopular you are.
You're going to throw yourself under the bus.
That's what they're doing. Isn't that weird?
See, the thing is that they're saying that they went to registered voters. And I always wonder how they phrase the question and what is their actual sample size.
Well, it would seem like if anybody would be in a position to it would seem like the media would, well, come on, the media, you trust us, right? I mean, it's just the whole thing.
Hi, this is Fox News. We have a question about us.
Now to the president and the media. Our most recent Fox poll indicates the presidency has better approval numbers. 53% say they have confidence. 46% do not. For the media, the numbers are upside down, 44% to 55%. And guess who's not coming to dinner? That is the latest salvo in the president's ongoing war with what he calls fake news. Fox News media analyst and host of Fox's Media Buzz, Howard Kurtz, explains.
President Trump is continuing his assault on the media after his speech declaring major news outlets the enemy of the people. He tweeted yesterday that stories involving his associates' contacts with Russia are fake news put out by the Dems and played up by the media. But in the most buzzed about Beltway bombshell, Mr. Trump said he's skipping the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That springtime ritual where presidents poke at the press and political opponents, but are also subjected to a comedian's mockery.
Yeah, I think that's probably
I think that's the part. I think he can't handle that.
Well, I say good on him. If you know what, if you know that's not your bag, don't go. I've never liked that stupid event. It is the worst. It is a bunch of celebrities, and it's all of the actor level of the media. It's not the actual people that are doing the hard reporting there. And then on top of that, they bring in somebody like Stephen Colbert, who makes all his typical jokes. He makes all the same typical roasts, and then they all pat each other on the back, say, "Do a great job." And it's the biggest phony event ever. I've always thought, what a waste of the president's time. I've always thought it's a waste of the president's time.
Well, any publicity usually is good publicity, but then again, this is a former reality star, right? So maybe he's just like, I'm not going to get good ratings at that show, so...
I think it's the opposite.
He doesn't want to give the ratings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of ratings, this congressional address raked
joint
in.
Session.
Yeah, it raked in. And this was, I think, a big moment in Trump's presidency. And so what I've got here is a highlight reel that CNN put together for us.
Oh, that's very nice of them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of the key moments all cut together really quick. So if you didn't want to watch it, or you didn't get a chance to see it, or you're watching this way down the road like some of you do, this will sort of remind you what happened.
The President of the United States.
While we may be a nation divided on policies, we are a country that stands united in condemning hate and evil. I am here tonight to deliver a message of unity and strength, and it is a message deeply delivered from my heart. A new national pride is sweeping across our nation, and a new surge of optimism is placing impossible dreams firmly within our grasp. We are also taking strong measures to protect our nation from radical Islamic terrorism.
So he goes all in on that one,
Well, I feel like he's just hitting a campaign point by saying that.
So I am calling on all Democrats and Republicans in Congress to work with us to save Americans from this imploding Obamacare disaster.
He gestures to Nancy Pelosi and kind of smiles and laughs a little bit. He did that a couple of times. Look at Nancy.
Wow.
You hear that going,
oof.
So there's also probably the moment that tipped the scales, I think, in just about everybody's commentary. And if Trump pulls one of these off every time he has a big speech, he's going to do great.
The challenges we face as a nation are great, but our people are even greater. And none are greater or braver than those who fight for America in uniform.
Got to spend more money, Chase. Got to spend more money. Yeah, I got to stand up for that.
Yeah, I'm going to shake my head on that one.
Now, the Democrats don't stand up very often during the... I always watch this.
Yeah,
Do you
me
watch
too.
this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I also noticed that there definitely seems to be a Hillary division and like an Elizabeth Warren division in this crowd here. I just watching, there were people taking their cues from Nancy and people taking their cues from Elizabeth when to stand up. That was fascinating. The Democrats don't stand up often, but when it comes to our service members and the military, everybody's standing up for that. Spend that
money. We are blessed to be joined tonight by Corinne Owens, the widow of U.S. Navy Special Operator, Senior Chief William Ryan Owens.
Now, this isn't too unusual. The president often does calls out to people. That's a standard formula, actually. In fact, I was even at first a little surprised to even see him following that formula. But this is when you're
it's very traditional.
When you're making this cake, this is one of the ingredients. But what Trump does here a little bit is just the little bit of difference that he maybe if even improv'd that I think pushed it over.
Ryan died as he lived, a warrior and a hero, battling against terrorism and securing our nation.
This started to come in a good time in his speech too, because at the beginning his cadence was a little off with the applause. He wasn't nailing it, but by this point he's starting to get a better flow. So now here's the part where I really thought this was Trump's move. So the White House had told the media that they would be going in on her, and they had told the media to have a graphic up with her husband. But what Trump does here, and you can tell because it's in the mic, it's annoying, it's loud.
Yeah.
He's now leading the clapping. The president is leading the clapping, and he leads it a long, long time.
Yeah, he keeps
longer
going.
than
I picked up on that too.
And by doing that, he gave her one of the longest moments that's ever happened in an address like this, and just everybody was just blown away by the emotional tone. And it was something simple, and what he did is he grabbed control of the crowd and he led the clapping. You can hear it here in the audio. That loud clapping is Trump into his mic. You see that?
Yeah.
I just spoke to our great General Mattis.
And of course she's sitting next to her daughter. Her daughter takes a great moment, this is a great moment, puts her hand on her leg to like comfort her right as the camera's still on her.
Just now.
That's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That was a beautiful moment. I don't know if they planned them. They must have planned that. It was perfect.
Mattis, just now, who reconfirmed that, and I quote, Ryan was a part of a highly successful raid that generated large amounts of vital intelligence that will lead to many more victories in the future against our enemy.
The other thing that's great about this is this was something over the weekend, that's not the weekend. This was something starting about Monday that was starting to build, that he hadn't handled this properly, that he was blaming other people for it, that Trump should just take responsibility. These are criticisms about this entire service.
Yeah.
And by doing this, he just sort of whitewashes all of that.
Ryan's legacy is etched into eternity. Thank you.
And now Trump's leading the clapping again. See, he's taking control of the clapping. And he keeps it going longer than normal. Even the military guys are clapping. The reason why it cuts in and out, boom, 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 is because he's spiking the mic.
Yeah.
He's still driving it. Doesn't it sound weird after a while?
I made a comment because I was watching with my dad and my wife, and I was just like, this feels longer than it really should be.
But that's how he sold it. Like because he did this, and he just I feel like part of me feels like we should let it play because it helps build the moment. I'm gonna let it play a little more. And she's crying. And she's like looking up to God. It's an amazing moment.
Yeah.
And you can tell she's thankful for the appreciation too. It's powerful. He's still leading the clapping. He's looking up at her very Mussolini style. With his daughter right there barely in the camera frame. If he does this at the State of the Union, something like this, they're still going.
Again, yeah.
I'm filling time now. And now he's stopped.
And Ryan is looking down right now. You know that. And he's very happy because I think he just broke a record.
Yeah. That was smooth. That's again some 4D chess right there. That was so smooth. There was one moment where I was very pleased to hear a little giggle in the crowd.
We have begun to drain the swamp of government corruption by imposing a 5-year ban on lobbying.
You can hear a little bit in the background.
Yeah, because people were like, yeah, look at your cabinet.
Yeah. It's laughable. It was like, do you remember when we played that clip when somebody claimed that Hillary Clinton was the most honest politician and somebody in the background cracked up?
Yeah.
But then he managed to keep going, and he got a strong reaction from the words that he said.
Year ban on lobbying by executive branch officials and a lifetime ban.
Earlier in the speech, he doesn't get as many Democrats, but he manages to gain some momentum there. I thought I'd go around and try to get different inputs, and it all fell down around the lines. MSNBC had some thoughts, Fox News had their thoughts. I wanted to go to Van Jones because Van Jones has been a dog with a bone when it comes to Trump, and I wanted to play his thoughts on Trump's speech.
He became president of the United States in that moment. Period.
What do you think of that?
Well, maybe just that moment.
I feel like a lot of people thought that was.
But see, it all matters now how he follows up on it, right? And I think that's the most crucial part here. Is he going to be up at 3, 4 in the morning, sending out very, very negative and very pessimistic tweets and start attacking people again? And if he wants to continue this tone, this totally different tone that we saw from him, it really depends on his follow-up.
You sound a bit like your buddy Chuck Schumer.
I want to play a little bit from what Senator Chuck Schumer had to say this morning on the Today Show when asked if there was anything in that hour and 6-minute speech that he could agree with. Here is what the Senate Democratic leader said.
I was touched by the mention of the widow of the brave soldier who died in Yemen and things like that.
Man.
But no,
you couldn't even remember the guy's name. That's classic.
In Yemen and things like that. But no, it's hard to see any place where the president actually has done something for working people.
Wait. There's an error.
What's that?
On that graphic. You didn't.
Hard to see where the president 2-line text banner. Love it. Love it. I did not see that. Yeah, Chuck Schumer's been saying, and Nancy Pelosi's been saying, what's he gotten done? He hasn't gotten anything done. He hasn't gotten anything done that he promised. You kind of said it too. He's busy tweeting. He's taking pot shots at people.
Playing golf every weekend.
I would say he's gotten quite a bit done.
Well, through executive order.
Yeah.
And, and this is also coming off a guy who criticized President Obama of doing a lot of executive orders. Let's see what Congress can do with you.
That is really the big thing.
That's the huge thing.
One of them, there's these two things, these two huge numbers that are floating around. The first one is the $1 trillion infrastructure plan, which we play a little bit in the overtime.
Which both sides like.
Then there's this whole $54 billion defense spending increase.
The president who's talked plenty about his money
I'm really rich.
Now spending the taxpayers in a new budget blueprint that's as much a political document as a financial one.
We have to start winning wars again.
That means a lot more money on the military, a lot less almost everywhere else. President Trump wants to add $54 billion to beef up the Pentagon, intelligence agencies, and Homeland Security, and slash the same amount to agencies like the EPA and the State Department.
You know, I know that sounds, boy, that first one too, the EPA, that sounds really bad. There is some interesting history with the EPA in terms of really big military projects that were multi-billion dollars in the making. So there may be some slack to cut from the EPA without collapsing it. I'm just pointing that out. The State Department, what I love about this is, of course, this newscast is going to pitch it as like, well, what about our U.S. aid? But the State Department has been central to our Middle Eastern just total back-assward policy, catastrophe after catastrophe, including Libya, that was the State Department, Syria, our handling of Iran. All of this has been such a disaster. Here's a little fun fact for you too.
Fun fact.
Do you know what the State Department used to be called? I hope I'm remembering this right. The War Department.
Really?
Yeah, that didn't play so well after World War II, so they renamed it to the State Department. They are responsible for a lot of the shit we get into. Of course, them, and then through the executive branch and the CIA. But I would love to see the State Department get slimmed down a little bit. But this report, of course, doesn't really mention that stuff.
We are taking his words and turning them into policies and dollars.
His new budget director emphasizes it's just an outline, but the cuts could mean less money for, say, arts programs or helping people in need overseas.
I don't even know if the president really understands the ramifications of the cuts that are being proposed.
Right now, the government spends the majority of its budget on entitlements like Medicare and Social Security, programs the president's promised to protect, even though party leaders like Paul Ryan have pushed to overhaul them to save money. The president has made clear he doesn't want to touch these entitlements. Are you comfortable with a budget that doesn't do that?
Repealing and replacing Obamacare is fundamental entitlement reform.
You cannot have a serious, credible, fiscally responsible budget that does not address the challenges in our entitlement programs.
Lots of that.
And that's been a conversation that's been having, last 20 years?
I know, I'm so sick of hearing it.
Yeah.
The line on the defense spending, on why this has to happen is, well, you see, after 16 years of war, our military is broken down and busted and needs fixed up. We've been active all around the world. So it's great because it's sort of like the self-fulfilling prophecy. We build up this entirely monstrous military-industrial complex, which constantly requires feeding, constantly requires new conflict to churn out new machinery to keep going, which then, because it's consistently pushing for engagement, it winds up in a state where its equipment has been degraded and functionality reduced. Its troops have been reduced. It's now in this sort of banged up position simply because it is such a monster that it has to constantly be fed and has to constantly be in one war after another. So the solution is to just spend more money. It's the same kind of logic where the way you're going to get people off of heroin is by increasing police enforcement. The way you're going to get people to stop driving drunk is by increasing police enforcement instead of addressing the social issues that are causing the problem in the first place. It's the same sort of mentality that the right often finds themselves in that just leads to more privatized prisons, that just leads to more families getting screwed up because somebody smoked a joint. It's this backwards big government thinking that these small conservative government guys are constantly promoting. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. It's the definition of hypocrisy. Oh, yeah. Because they claim to be for small government, and then their solution is to spend more, $54 billion more on the world's largest military. Their solution is to hire task forces to reduce bureaucracy. Well, what is a task force? A task force is going to create bureaucracy.
Layer. Right. Yeah.
Their solution to immigration is to spend more on immigration enforcement. Their solution to the drug war and the opioid addiction is to spend more on drug enforcement. It is insanity. And it's the biggest disappointment of the Trump campaign, or I'm sorry, now the Trump presidency so far. And remember last week, we were kind of scratching our heads about his new national security advisor. We had heard a lot of positive things about him, but like we didn't really know, like, what's this guy about? Yeah. Why does the right, left, neocons, conservatives, why do they all seem to like this guy? This story gives us a little more detail.
All right.
President Trump's new pick for National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, has won bipartisan praise. Congressman Adam Schiff, the top-ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, he described McMaster as a solid choice. But McMaster's most enthusiastic support has come from a camp which, so far, has been largely opposed to Trump, the neocons. Editor of the Weekly Standard and prominent member of the Never Trump movement, Bill Kristol, commended Trump's choice, saying, "I say this honestly and non-snarkily. I can't imagine anyone better prepared for the challenges of being Trump's NSA than H.R. McMaster." Senator Tom Cotton, known for his hawkish stance on Iran, called McMaster legendary in an interview. And one of Trump's biggest critics on the Hill, Senator John McCain, echoed such views, calling McMaster an outstanding choice as a man of genuine intellect, character, and ability.
Wow, he's got McCain on board. Oh.
So what about McMaster has excited some of Trump's greatest detractors, the proponents of war? RT correspondent Anya Parampil brings us the answers.
After weeks of offering nothing but criticism for President Donald Trump, the neocons can hardly contain their excitement at his selection of Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster as National Security Advisor.
The ideology of the neocons has always been a Trotskyite orientation. You know, they believe in perpetual, continuous revolution, whereas Trotsky felt it was a socialist revolution international. They believe in some sort of messianic American version, or their version of America, and that sort of permanent revolution overseas that, of course, has to take place at the barrel of a U.S. gun.
Proponents of war find a clear ally in McMaster, who spoke about his vision for the future of warfare at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, a defense industry-funded think tank.
I think what we're seeing is a shift in geopolitics and competitions in a way that poses great dangers, and I think has elevated the risk of a major international military crisis to maybe the highest level in the last 70 years.
So that's the guy. That's the guy. He's already making changes to the National Security Council too. Yes, the one that Bannon's in. I have links in the show notes to give information about that. You know, thinking about these cuts, so one of the things he mentioned in his speech was this new executive order that says for every new regulation, 2 other regulations have to be cut. People are concerned about the dismantling of Dodd-Frank, which could unhinge the financial industry and the derivatives market and cause another collapse. The stock market's going crazy right now. They love whatever he's doing. I'm not that I'm a fatalist, but I feel like we are so supremely screwed based on 35 years of horrible policy decisions that there's almost no way to screw it up worse. There's really almost nothing worse you can do. One group will be less screwed than another group will be more screwed.
See, I guess what I don't understand about this whole process is if the Republicans truly want to make this better, right, and they don't want us to be in huge debt and they want to help people and blah 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 blah, why would they intentionally do things that counter that? Like give me an example. Well, like, for example, I mean, do we really need to spend $54 billion increasing our defense while at the same time, you know, we have a huge opioid epidemic, for example, and we have other major social issues like you just, you know, talked about. You know, why are we not putting our energy towards things that can really make a difference for us? What does spending $54 billion on military do for us at all?
Well, I don't have an answer for that.
I'm just saying, like, if they, I mean, for the people who voted for him and you know, they want their factory jobs back, or, you know, they've seen their communities being torn apart. I mean, hell, Flint doesn't still have clean drinking water, and now they're having to pay for the water that requires filters for them to drink. There's nothing happening there. You know, it's these kind of issues that are happening in America right now that.
So your fundamental premise is, why spend that money on the military when you could spend it locally?
Right.
Instead of privatizing the roads, spend it on the roads. So their premise is that there are threats in the world, and that the military's readiness status, that's their term, their readiness status after 16 years of war is reduced to devastating levels, and that they claim that the sequester that's been in place now for a little while has left them in a state that is just beyond repair, and that they need somebody to come along and revamp it. And in fact, McCain wanted
but how does
something like
back,
$64 billion or something
pulling
more.
back Dodd-Frank? How does that help you? How does it help dismantling the Affordable Care Act? And saying that
how does anything that's been done in the last 30 years help us?
Right, but that's the thing though, right? What's their ultimate motive, right? Do they honestly just don't care?
I think it's a philosophy that they
it's
have
about themselves and not people.
They have a core philosophy. I think they have a core philosophy that they can, by deregulating, they can open up the American market and give it. Here's what. Okay, I should preface this a little more. The U.S. market is in a unique position right now because the rest of the world really doesn't have their shit together financially. So we have some great opportunities right now to sort of lock in our position for the next 100 years if we do things right. And I think their theory is let's unregulate industry and let the American industry's engines just go full-fledged for a few years to really establish us as dominant for we are the superpower. It's not going to be China. It's not going to be India. It's not going to be a China, India, Iran coalition. It is the United States. And the way we do that is through deregulation and by empowering our military to keep the things that we have.
Right, but what we've seen in a lot of these cases is it's made things worse for a lot of Americans, a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they don't even argue against that. And that's the part that really bugs me. It's like, all right, fine, if you want to do these things, show me proof where it's actually helped us. And I've never seen it because it hasn't in a lot of ways.
I'm going to play just a few clips from Steve Bannon here really quick because he was at CPAC.
I think the first two EOs that you've started to see implemented here over the last couple of days under General Kelly, and that is the rule of law is going to exist when you talk about our sovereignty and you talk about immigration. General Kelly and Attorney General Sessions are adamant, that, and you're going to start to see, I think, with the defense budget we're going to talk about next week when we bring the budget out, and also with certain things about the plan on ISIS and what General Mattis and these guys think. I think you'll start to see the other part of that. But the third, this regulation, every business leader we've had in is saying not just taxes, but it is also the regulation. And I think if you look at these cabinet appointees, they were selected for a reason, and that is the deconstruction. The way the progressive left runs is if they can't get it passed, they're just going to put it in some sort of regulation in an agency. That's all going to be deconstructed. It's not only not going to get better, it's going to get worse every day in the media.
So I cuts there, but he's quoted in this as saying they are going to deconstruct the administrative layer. They're going to just start. They have teams. They're just going to start dismantling these regulations and bureaucracies.
But see, if the American people don't see a result, if they don't see something good happening from all the stuff that they're doing, they're out.
Well, what is defined as the American people?
Well, I'm just talking about people who vote.
Right.
I mean, that's
the cogs. I think from high level government, I would hazard, if you allow, a guess that the American people to them are the corporations, the innovators, the culture makers, because Chase Nunes and Chris Fisher might be around 80, 90 years if we're lucky. Companies like IBM and Google and Microsoft could be around for 300-400 years. Their loyalty lies there because they are the true legacy. The people die off. We don't matter to them. And so for them...
But if they make drastic decisions that affect people in the short term, they won't even have the time to implement what they want.
Well, who's the people? Because right now the stock market's doing crazy great. Like today, it's breaking records. Right. So if the people are Wall Street, the people are doing really good. If the people are Apple, it's looking like they're going to be able to repatriate some of that money pretty soon. It's looking pretty good. If the people is, and maybe at some point, if I can go a year without having to have insurance, every single month, since my insurance has gone up, I have needed that money that they have taken out of my account. Every single month this year, I have needed that money. It would make a big difference for my quality of life. There has been weeks where I don't know how I'm going to put gas in my truck to actually get to work. I could really use that money, and I haven't gone to the doctor for 6 years. I would so much rather have that money in my pocket. So for somebody like me, because I'm a small business, we can't really afford to do something that's, because the business can't really afford to do it, and there's not really great options when you've got only a few employees. That could be something he could do that would make a day-to-day material difference in my life.
Yeah, but then the entire system would collapse as far as the system.
Good. I hope all of the systems collapse.
Yeah, but then, so you're going to say that to somebody?
Yeah, because you know what's going to happen? Then Trump doesn't get elected in 4 years. They bring in a Democrat and they set up a single-payer system.
But then people die because then they don't have health coverage anymore.
Yeah, people are still going to die.
Right, but
They're gonna die.
But now they don't have coverage.
So what you pick your poison?
So they're supposed to lose their house and everything they have if they
that
get
would
sick?
still happen to me if something happened.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, my insurance is absolutely shit, first of all.
But you have something. You have a layer of something.
If I would have, no, I don't, because I have a $5,000 deductible, that would ruin me. Immediately, like the day I have to use my insurance, I'm ruined, because I have to pay $5,000 first.
$5,000.
So it's like, it's no good.
Or $100,000.
Honestly, where I'm at, there's no difference.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I podcast for a living. It's not like I'm making Leo Laporte bucks. I live off of Patreon and sponsors. Like,
right, yeah.
I do this because I couldn't do anything else. I don't do it because I make a lot of money. And I would have to finance it either way. It just doesn't make a difference. And what would make a difference would be to have nearly $300 a month more. That would make a huge difference for me.
Right.
So you pick your poison, because I have to do crazy creative things to be able to figure out how to put gas in the truck to get down here to record the shows.
But then what's a better way of doing it then?
I think a single-payer system.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think
I just don't think I
think it's going to take another swing of that pendulum before we'll get there.
Right.
So you gotta make just a total mess of it first. You got to break the entire thing. You got to get people really passionate about this topic, and then you got to have somebody.
I can agree with that.
That comes in and says, "Well, I've got a solution for you. We're going to take this system that has this great."
And that's what pisses me off about hearing, the Republicans saying, "Okay, well, we're gonna give you health service accounts and tax credits." That doesn't help you as a business owner, because if you don't have the money to put into a health service account, it's not even going to matter. If the insurance is this high and they say, "Well, we're going to give you credits," that still doesn't matter. You still have to come up with the money.
I do like the idea of taking pre-tax money, though. That does appeal to me.
But you're not saving that much. You're saving what?
Yeah,
a few percent.
Yeah,
yeah. We both agree it's effed up.
You said something that I think is really poignant. I think you said something just sort of offhandedly. You said, and it is sort of leading to this horrible I can barely say it, opioid addiction.
Yeah.
Situation where you get on painkillers, your insurance stops covering it, you can't pay for it otherwise, so you go to stuff that's on the street, and all of what we're talking about, this is what's happening every single day right now. Yeah. And it boggles my mind, because there's a common thing amongst the RV community, people who full-time in their RVs. A lot of them that are mobile, like there's several that I follow that do this. When they have a major medical procedure, they go down to Mexico in their RV and they just pay cash. And I'm talking like root canals. I'm talking getting prescription drugs. They can pay, and I'm not saying this is, but what I'm saying is people are so desperate.
Well, we've heard about the medical care in Cuba, and Michael Moore, was it Michael Moore that did that special about going down to Cuba?
People are going to extraordinary lengths.
Yeah, they are.
And people are getting into heroin, and it is a horrible situation.
Right.
That there's a real world cost. There's real human cost. Mine is a financial one, but there's people that have much higher costs.
Because my fear is the Republicans, they don't want to fix this. They honestly want to destroy it and not make it better. I don't have an optimistic feeling about this, and this is not trying to be a neutral point of view. I'm just telling you how I feel.
I think it's got to get worse before it gets better.
Absolutely, and that's the part that kind of freaks me out, is how bad is it have to get.
I hope they have it figured out before I'm beyond my 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
I hope they get it figured out when I'm still in my 30s. That's going to be optimistic, though, at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have it in time for my kids.
Yeah.
So this sort of leads me to our high note. Jeff Sessions.
Oh, God, thank you for, yes.
He's a concern. He's a real concern. And
he's in Pharma's pocket. You can just feel it already.
Well, I don't know. I think
or
he's
is it
extreme.
a personal feeling?
You know, when I watch this, to me, the man seems simply misinformed.
I'm dubious about marijuana. States can pass whatever laws they choose, but I'm not sure we're going to be a better, healthier nation.
This is the new Attorney General. So he's got thoughts on marijuana, the opioid situation.
Yeah.
Let's pause there. We'll come back to the high note.
All right.
That's a little tease. The high note is coming up.
A little tease.
We got a pretty good high note this week. Some good stuff we're gonna get into.
Very good stuff.
But in the meantime,
yes. Hey, it's time for a joint session of my sack. Isn't that nice?
Oh, that is wonderful.
Yeah, we come together.
Yeah. The Congress of the Patreon.
And once a year, we visit my sack.
Oh!
So, hey, guys, I reached out, Club 33, asking you guys what you thought of the president's speech last night and the Democratic response.
Oh, good idea.
And here's what people had to say. Verituna wrote in and said, hey, which way will Trump jump? Away from war or toward it? Seems like there are conflicting forces pulling either way. Putin is right to be cautious. Meanwhile, in the UK, Liberty have launched a legal action against the Snoopers Charter. Too little, too late? Also, 14 years in prison for leaking government cock-ups?
Oh!
Even if you're a journalist? What a time to be alive, huh?
Where's that?
The UK.
Oh, man. Talk about a war on journalism. Yeah, that Snoopers Charter and all of that. Is it too little, too late? I say no. I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Never is. No. And
Verituna, weekly check-in.
And then Mickey T writes in and says, hey, I love how CNN brought up Russia after Trump's speech. They pointed out that it was notably absent from the speech.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no duh. It's a speech about America. They also think he called the military weak because we aren't winning. Hey, I'm in the Navy. We're tired of a sustained war without winning also. Anyway,
no doubt.
Keep up the great show. You guys rock.
One of my favorite commentaries was immediately after the speech. It comes back to the CBS crew. Scott Pelley's there. And one of the first things he leads with is, we were counting the amount of times he said I in the speech. And like they were waiting the entire time. They were counting like when he was going to refer to himself.
The I counter.
Yeah.
Hey, if you guys want to be a part of Club 33 and you want to get on that waiting list, head over to patreon.com/unfilter and select Club 33. You'll get an email notification when a spot opens up. But right now we are full. But don't forget, if you are part of Club 33, look for my Patreon message that gets posted every Wednesday morning very early so you can get your messages in for the show at patreon.com/unfilter. What other cool benefits can they get, Chris?
Well, thank you for asking, Mr. Chase. If you get in at the $3 level, you really get up there. Actually, the $5 level, I was just kidding. It's $2, $5 in Club 33. And the $5 level today would be a particularly good one because you get access to the supporter sync, and there's a ton of extra stuff in the overtime folder. So much good stuff. Great clips, montages, stuff that we can't play because of copyright issue. It's all in there. And you get access to that for just $5 a month. Plus, you're really making a difference keeping the show on the air. It's one of the most time-consuming. It is the most. It's not one of. That's like I just automatically say that.
Big thanks to the people who support us here and
show.
Also who submit stories on
unfilter.reddit.com.
Yep, and also producer Matt.
One other thing, I just want to mention for the Patreon, patreon.com/unfilter, you get for free. No, you don't even have to be a supporter. When YouTube works with us, the full live stream.
That's right.
The original order, we recorded everything, nothing cut out, the in-between, the overtime and main show stuff.
Yep.
Just posted there for free, and we hope that you go check it out, and from time to time, maybe you consider joining us. At $5 tier is really the sweet spot to be because you get the supporter sync.
You get everything.
And you'll be in on it when we
Except
move
the
to the
swag.
system. Yeah, the swag's at 33.
Yeah.
But, if you can only support, if you can only afford to support us like $2, we also really do appreciate that.
That's right.
Patreon.com/unfilter, and the overtime segment's coming up dedicated to our patrons. So let's go back to Mr. Sessions.
Mr. Jeff.
He's not so sure. He's not
dubious
so sure.
about marijuana. States can pass whatever laws they choose, but I'm
I like that part. States can pass whatever laws they choose.
But
it's good to hear the Attorney General say that.
Choose, but I'm not sure we're going to be a better, healthier nation that if we have marijuana being sold at every corner grocery store.
See,
I just don't.
He starts with the exaggeration right there.
And, you know,
it's actually very opposite of that.
Yeah. My wife turned and looked at me and was like, "What is he? Is he smoking? Like,
Yeah,
what
there's
is he talking about
Pretty
here?"
much any little town around here that wants to have rules about where things can be has it. And there's some towns that just don't even have any shops.
I mean, honestly, that's a scare thing. I think he's trying to throw that out there to scare the conservative, soccer mom that, oh, my kid could go to any corner store. No, it doesn't work like that.
The thing is this is one of those issues where the public is so far beyond where the government's at that there
was a Quinnipiac poll, 71%. So nearly 3 out of 4 people approve of marijuana and want to see it legalized.
At every corner grocery store. I just don't think that's going to be good for us, and we'll have to work our way through that. I'd see a line in the Washington Post today that I remember from the 80s. This one was, if you smoke, marijuana is a cure for opiate abuse.
The fact that he's even saying this, and he says, I remember this from the 80s, actually makes me think he might actually believe this. Because this is on its face.
And also look at the look on his face. He's got that smirk look to him.
On its face, this is so uninformed that if you actually knew the facts, you wouldn't say this because you would come across looking like an uninformed moron. And the only way you would actually say this is if you actually thought this was true. So I'll let it play again.
But I'm not sure we're going to be a better, healthier nation that if we have marijuana being sold at every corner grocery store. I just don't think that's going to be.
I have one side comment on this.
Okay, then I want you to listen to the next thing.
I know. His position is what? The Attorney General, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't work for the Department of Health. Okay.
No.
He doesn't work for the Education Department. He doesn't work for Social Services or anything. He is the Attorney General. He is there to enforce the federal laws of the land. I give a rip about how he feels what America should have and not have. Okay.
Well, but it's his policies that will direct how federal law enforcement.
But honestly,
agencies.
but it shouldn't be about that. It should just be about the law, and enforcement of law and not law, whatever.
It was thanks to the guys like him that DARE even became a thing, which was, if you look at it, a massive failure.
Right, exactly.
So, okay, now check out this next part.
And we'll have to work our way through that. I'd see a line in the Washington Post today that I remember from the 80s.
You hear how he says that?
From the 80s.
Now listen to what he says. It's so uninformed.
Which was when the DARE program was in its heyday.
Mm-hmm.
This one was, if you smoke, marijuana is a cure for opiate abuse. Give me a break.
So let's talk about that for a second. This is actually something that could be a very interesting line of research, and Nevada as well as Massachusetts and other states are very seriously looking into this. Here's a little peek.
Some Nevada lawmakers want to give people addicted to narcotics the option to treat their condition with medical marijuana. Right now, physicians can make referrals that pot would help treat a patient with a number of conditions, including cancer, AIDS, seizures, and chronic pain. Very little research points to marijuana as a helpful treatment for narcotics addiction.
I think that's a key line there, because
the reason why they haven't been able to do research.
Exactly, buddy. It's this entire problem, and it's guys like Sessions that have been holding this entire thing up. And we got to know, because the positive side effects of this could be huge. And it's not because they like getting stoned or something like that. It's actually a much more practical reason this clip covers.
It's a growing problem in Minnesota and across the country. The Centers for Disease Control say between 14 and 16,000 people die every year as a result of their addiction to prescription painkillers. Those addictions often lead to heroin use. Here in Minnesota, 342 people have died from heroin overdoses since 2000. But now, medical researchers think they found a new way to help break the addiction. It's by using medical marijuana.
So people often die from opiates, and opiates are highly addictive, and those are two characteristics that cannabis does not have as a medicine.
Dr. Kyle Kingsley is the CEO of Minnesota Medical Solutions, one of the 2 manufacturers of medical marijuana in Minnesota. He believes medical cannabis can help people who've become addicted to prescription painkillers, like oxycodone, morphine, and hydromorphone, as well as heroin.
People think it's swapping out one for the other, and it's swapping out a much lesser evil for something that is killing 16,000 people a year. So, people are not dying from THC or marijuana overdoses.
That is the key thing, man. That is like the totally key thing is you can transition them over to something like cannabis or CBD. And
does Sessions want to keep people on opioids because of pharma? I mean, that's what I wonder here. Is pharma a big pusher because they know that anybody can grow a plant? You know what I mean? And
I feel like it's ignorance of the problem, and they simply think it's an enforcement issue.
See, and you're right. I mean, they're totally ignorant. It's very, very frustrating to hear. I remember this in the 80s. Well, why don't you actually get some real research?
Yeah, how about we get some progress and we move past this part?
So, people are not dying from THC or marijuana overdoses.
In Minnesota, medical marijuana can only be sold as a pill, liquid, or oil. Beginning this August, people with chronic pain will be able to get a prescription if they're certified by their doctors. Many of those folks are already taking prescription painkillers.
There's mounting evidence out there that cannabis in the setting of chronic pain helps people reduce their opiate use. And there's also some analyses out there that show a dramatic reduction in the number of opiate overdose deaths in states that have medical marijuana.
This summer, Dr. Kingsley...
That's what's also super awful about Sessions saying that, is there's existing data that shows where they're trying this, deaths go down. That's a huge deal.
It's happened here in this state.
So something that I've seen from afar is my lady Hadia. She runs an acupuncture clinic, and she has had more and more of her patients have their doctors recommend CBD oils.
Wow, really?
And CBD pills, and she's seen over this, even just this year, a big spike in patients that are seeing success using CBDs. She doesn't, recommend it or anything like that because she doesn't really. Yeah. That's not. She does acupuncture.
That's on her purview, right?
Yeah, but she's seen a huge uptick in it, and it's like with older ladies with like arthritis.
Wow.
And it's not like kids. It's like menopausal women is making a difference. And then there was just the last high note we have. This is so you combine Sessions' position, which is bad, with sort of some hints that. Spicy Sean was dropping this week?
There's two distinct issues here, medical marijuana and recreational marijuana.
Okay, here we go. Back to this conversation. Because we can't even get past the premise that the federal government should have no jurisdiction over what substances that I put in my body, that the federal government technically, by the Constitution, should be staying out of this, that if they're willing to make transgender bathrooms a states' right thing, that they should be making
the
cannabis.
Hypocrisy, right.
It's just, it's thick, right? Yeah. So then when Spicy Sean comes at it with, let's differentiate the two, if all of a sudden we can isolate off the victims, the victims need special treatment, but the rest of humanity, we can decide what they put in their bodies. So I hate this entire just context that they have the argument in because it's flawed to begin with. Then he goes off to rattling what sounds like implications of crackdown.
I think medical marijuana, I've said before that the president understands the pain and suffering that many people go through who are facing especially terminal diseases, and the comfort that some of these drugs, including medical marijuana, can bring to them.
If they're going to die. If they're going to die.
let them smoke, I guess.
And that's one that Congress, through a rider in 2011, looking for a little help, I think put in an appropriations bill saying the Department of Justice wouldn't be funded to go after those folks. There's a big difference between that and recreational marijuana. And I think that when you see something like the opioid addiction crisis blossoming in so many states around this country, the last thing that we should be doing is encouraging people. There is still a federal law that we need to abide by in terms of...
He just kind of is speaking choppedly, but he's sort of implying that with the opioid situation that it is, that the cannabis legalization make it worse, but the data shows exactly the opposite.
Right.
The medical, when it comes to recreational marijuana and other drugs of that nature. So I think there's a big difference between medical marijuana, which states have the states where it's allowed in accordance...
He almost said it right, but he stopped himself.
...with the appropriations rider, have set forth a process to administer and regulate that usage versus recreational marijuana.
Okay, so we're okay with regulations in this context. This is where regulations are okay all of a sudden.
But in the other context, it's not.
You want to get rid of some regulations? How about you get rid of the DEA? How about you get rid of the schedule classification of cannabis? You want to get rid of some regulations? How about you dismantle the drug war machine? That would get rid of some regulations. It's an incredible hypocrisy. That's what gets me right there. Gets me right there.
Right in the kisser.
Right in the kisser. All right, Mr. Chase. I thought maybe one little fun thing.
Okay.
This is probably going to get us flagged for copyright.
At least it's at the end.
But it's at the end, so we'll just trash the whole thing. I thought this was kind of great. Maybe I miss Hillary a little bit.
There are at least forces within the FBI that wanted her to lose.
This is the Washington Post's new contributing editor. Did you hear about that?
I did.
John Podesta.
Yeah.
In an interview where he says that it was forces within the FBI that wanted Hillary to lose that cost her the election. Not his emails.
Yeah, no, not his emails,
No.
He needs to change his password.
Not the fact that that Hillary Clinton was closely tied to Anthony Weiner, which this started a whole snowball effect, and that she was taken down by those in her own inner circle. Not that. No, it was the FBI.
I'm not sure they were prepared to, they really understood the alternative, but they wanted her to lose. I think that's one possibility.
Can you assure the American people and the Bernie Sanders supporters who you now have to court that there isn't anything coming from this FBI investigation that's going to change the course of your campaign?
Absolutely.
You're confident?
Absolutely, yes.
You're not suggesting the FBI investigation's politicized.
No, but there's two different things.
Okay.
There is a security inquiry going on, and we respect that. I am, personally not concerned about it. I have to let them decide how to resolve their security inquiry, but I'm not at all worried about it. I think we're getting closer and closer to wrapping this up, and I'm looking forward to this being wrapped up, and I am looking forward to seeing this matter wrapped up. The FBI resolved all of this. Their report answered all the questions. I am grateful for the professionalism of the FBI and the Department of Justice.
Oh, boy.
That was good, right?
Nice hearing from Hill Dog again.
That was a nice piece, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very
They did a
nice.
good job.
Yeah.
They got a good editor. I think he listens to the show. So hat tip to him. Thank you, everybody, for helping out this week at unfilter.reddit.com. If you haven't been there in a while, why not stop by and give us your insights, link to stories, or even clips that you'd like to see in the show, unfilter.reddit.com. We do the show live on a Wednesday. You can find out in your local time at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar.
That's right. Now, Chris, during the course of the week, I know you're also working on other things like personal video vlogs.
Yeah, I did one a little behind the scenes yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that little Linux Unplugged action. Where can people find that?
YouTube.com/Chris Fisher, my name. What about you, buddy? Got anything online?
I do. You can follow me on the Twitters at Nunes, Nunes. I do some geeky and gaming things at Geek Gamer TV. Just came off of a great LAN party down in Olympia, Oregon. That was a lot of fun. Playing a lot of computer games, Battlefield, and
nice.
Rocket League, and things like that. It's always good fun.
Dude, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
When's the last time you played a game?
Boy, it's...
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
See? Come on, man. You got online.
Go. That's a good point.
Yeah.
At Jupiter Signal to follow the network to get announcements about show releases when show times change. If you'd like to give us an email, jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact. You got to be in Club 33 to get it read on the show, but you can still write the show and let us know your thoughts at the contact page. jblive.tv is where you watch it.
That's right.
And if you're on YouTube and you're still watching, give us a thumbs up for long-form content. Stick around. The overtime's still coming up. In some ways, the show's just getting started.
Oh, it's getting warmed up.
That overtime, there's some stuff.
I might even make an appearance.
Thanks for joining us. See you next week.
Yep.
JavyTitles.com. Boy. I don't know about this. Yikes, Chase. I don't know. None of these are really pulling my chain, man. You know what I mean?
I think it really has to relate to
the address.
Yeah, joint session. Yeah.
Oh, Trump's awkward address, but I don't actually think it was all that awkward.
No.
Other than that, a lot of clapping. Puppet in chief. Government dysfunction junction. WW's on fire tonight. Yeah.
Call it the softer side of Trump.
We've had a lot of Trump. Yeah, I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
Jesus. Can you think? Come on, Chase, give me something else.
Well, let's see. I thought of the softer side.
Please clap.
Thanks, Jeb. Please clap.
Damn. Why is this so hard? I mean, it seems like there should be something we can pull from that address.
I would just call it Trump joint session.
I think that's...
I know it doesn't have to be catchy or anything. Well, that's what I would kind of go with.
I don't feel like that's very good.
I know. It doesn't always
so
have to
damn hungry.
The System T State of Disunion speech.
Yes.
But it's not a State of the Union, though.
And that's just not all that great. Yeah, we need something, though. W will paint you. That's good. Okay, give me one more. Come on, Chase. Give me one more. Come on, you can do it.
I'm thinking.
You can do it. If I could do something with that mom or that wife.
Touching Trump Tuesday.
Touching Trump. A new side of Trump. I could play back the intro.
A tender
All right.
Trump.
All right, I'll play the intro. You guys know I do like it when you pull it from the intro. So let's see what we get.
This is Unfilter. Episode 227. March 1st.
Unity is to be the theme tonight in the president's first address to a joint session of Congress.
Unity.
A Trump unity.
Sounds pretty forced, though. A Trump unity.
His audience will be Republicans and
trumping unity. Unity
Democrats.
Trump.
Oops, that's good.
A touching Trump. A tender Trump.
Tender Trump isn't bad.
Yeah.
Kind of works on a couple of levels.
I like it. Ship it.
Are we shipping it? All right,
Ship
Tender
it.
Trump. All right.
Ship it.
Is that how that happens?
That's how.
All right.
If it fits, it ships.
If it fits, it ships. All right, buddy. Have yourself a good week.
Yes.
Woo! So what? Wait. Before I forget, I want to write it down. What was it?
A tender Trump.
Tender Trump. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Not tender Trump.
Tinder. All right.
Trump swipes left.
That's good too.
Okay, you know what?
I like that too. That's pretty good. All right. Thank you, chat room.
Thanks,
If
guys.
you're sticking around and get the latest reruns on here.
Yeah.
Tomorrow on the live stream is Bubkiss.
Bubkiss tomorrow?
But huge. We're going to be live from Scale on Sunday.
Wow.
Or, yeah. So it should be huge. Huge Sunday. See you, everybody. Thanks for being here.
See you guys.